Fred,
Yes, sir.
you ready?
Yes, sir.
Did you get that? That we're back in session?
Yes, sir.
You a good man.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Ms. Daniels, you have a change?
Yes,
to the
sir. If
agenda.
we could add to the beginning of the agenda, Chief Bruner has an item that came up yesterday that we just thought we could go ahead and address at a special meeting. And then also the litter bid needs to be added to this agenda. And then just for my clarification, so we're not addressing Judy's item at the special meeting. We're addressing it at the next meeting in April 27th.
Correct. We
Okay.
tabled it.
Until then.
Yeah. They have,
Okay, very good.
between her and Clay, they're gonna
So then
figure
we're
out
not
where
adding
we're
that to
at
this
and what
meeting.
we should do.
So we're not adding that. So just those two items.
So Chief Bruner, and what was the other thing? you wanted?
Litter. And I would ask that Chief Bruner get to go first if possible.
Just saying you can't hear y'all online. There you go.
Okay. Chief Bruner?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Good
Thank you
morning.
for having me this morning. Had an item come up yesterday that I want to bring to the board's attention and request board action on. As you all know, through the fiscal year 2021 budget that we're currently in, we have 2 ambulances that are being remounted. Those 2 ambulances are currently at the vendor and they're nearing final completion. We talked about, it was brought to me yesterday by the dealer themselves that they have proposed trade-in on our old chassis, our old ambulance chassis. Typically, historically, when the 2 units are remounted, we send 4 people out to retrieve each drive a vehicle, the two remounted units, and then the 2 old chassis. We bring these chassis back. They go to the fleet yard and they end up getting surplus and sold for money. These chassis in particular, just to give you some parameters on them, they're both 2016 Ford F-350 diesel chassis. One has 220,897 miles and one has 212,039 miles. They do have some cosmetic damage as well as some mechanical issues with both of them having pretty severe oil leaks. Now, keep in mind, they were used as ambulances, so they're not driven as regular county vehicles.
So Charlie, before you go
Yes,
any further, what type of vehicles are these?
These are Ford F-350 trucks.
Gasoline or diesel?
These are diesel with just the body on the back and the frame.
He didn't say what kind.
I
So
wrote it down. Yeah, he did.
to help, Fraser has offered to trade these in for $2,000 each. So just to give you a comparison, last cycle that Scotty auctioned off the last 2 ambulance chassis of the same F-350 Ford, but a different year model with the near about the same mileage. They got $2,025 for one and $1,500 for other. So we're right at the ballpark with doing this, should the board choose to do this, but we would have to ask the board to declare them surplus as a motion. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hill has a
I'll make
question.
a motion to that effect. I got a question. Good.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Hill. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner
So they
Payton.
don't pay for them to go out there? So the 2,000 apiece will include the
They're already there. They went out as the truck,
truck? Okay, so they just want to purchase them on site.
so we don't have to bring them back. Yes, sir. And they use them for various parts. Most of the time they use them for various parts if they're not in a condition that they can fix them, remount them, and sell them to usually a third-party non-emergency transport company.
So you said trade in.
Yes, sir. So the amount that 4,000 total that you would get would come back against the quotes that we had that the board had approved back at the beginning in
So
October.
they're not changing the numbers on.
Correct. Well, actually, with the $4,000, with the virus, they're delivering the units instead of the crews going out there because they don't want crews in their factories to shut down because have a high production line. So what they want to do is ship the new ones back. And that would cover the cost. There was, of $1,100 each to ship it. So that would $2,200. Then there was, $700 in frame, I guess, frame repair, tubular frame repair underneath that they had to do that was unforeseen by the pictures, before we sent them out there. So with that cost, you're looking at $1,100 credit that's going to come back to the PO that we originally sent. So it's going to be $1,100 under what we brought to the board in October.
What was the delivery date?
Let me see if I understand this
Yeah,
correctly. We're getting
well-
$2,000 for each one of those chassis.
Yes, sir. Correct.
But deducted from that 4,000, we've got $2,200 delivery of the new, delivery charge for the new vehicle.
Yes, sir.
And then $700 for some unanticipated.
Tubular
So it's a
frame
wash.
repair. Yes,
So
sir.
basically it washes itself out.
It will have $1,100 under what the original board approved in October, should you go this route.
What's the delivery date of those two ambulances?
They're looking at the completion dates, May 4th and May 5th. And then they would ship them the end of that week and they would come back.
So by the middle of May, we should have them.
They usually, the next week we'll have them. They usually take 48 hours to come from Houston.
Any questions?
Yeah, well, what would it cost to go get them?
They
Well,
won't let you- they're saying
I
no.
know they won't, but they can park them in the parking lot. What's the difference?
As opposed to paying the $2,200.
Well-
Sorry.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about going to pick up the new
Well-
ones. You talking about the new ones? Yeah, I don't know that.
Well, the new ones and.
Oh,
the-
the car-
and-
well,
Yeah, the call, I think you're asking how much, if we went and picked up.
If we'd done our normal thing, what would it cost us?
So typically when we look at right at about $1,500 in travel costs between flights, hotel, and personnel
Per
costs
truck or for both trucks?
for both trucks. And then, but if you're right at $3,000 because you're gonna have to send 4 people out there to drive 4
Right,
vehicles
yeah.
back.
I'll just
Yes, sir.
Good question.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign, motion carries 5-0.
And I've got the VIN number as well as the property number, so I can give this to Mr. Rooks.
And
So
we'll
to be
declare them surplus.
do we need-
Declare them surplus is what the policy would say the board would have to do.
That was his motion.
All right. Thank you all.
All right,
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie. All right. Who you want next?
I actually do think we're ready to address litter.
Appreciate it.
Morning, Chairman and board members.
Morning.
Did it,
So, well,
okay.
it was bid on a 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. Wait a minute, Scotty.
Where do we?
Have we got something on the?
It's in
In
the
the packet.
Oh, it's in there? Yeah, there it is.
Yes, it's in the
Provide-
additions packet.
We got to submit it.
Okay, go ahead.
This is for the annual litter contract. We put it out as a 1-year bid with 2 optional renewal years. I made a mistake on how to determine what was low, and we got with Michelle and all that. But currently, right now, it's Collins Land Service on 1 year. They were low at $294,063 to pick up the litter for 12 months. 1 cycle equals 30 days, go around, pick up 1,045 miles. That would be $294,063.
Mr. Chairman, does that include a bond?
Oh, yeah, there's a form of mine in there.
For the full amount?
Full amount.
Bid?
Yes, sir.
I haven't read through this. Tell me, how many times are they going to pick up?
12 times,
12 times.
once a month. They gotta make through the whole 1,045 miles of roads that we're mowing the sides on in 30 days.
They have to do all of them.
All
Are
of
they going to try to pick up directly in front of your mowers, or how's it?
Gonna try to keep them in front of the mowers as much as we can. It's in there that if they don't, then they gotta pick it up if it's cut or whatever for no additional cost. So we're gonna try to coordinate it as best, we can to keep them in front of them.
So dirt roads and chip seal roads that we don't mow, or they're not gonna pick them up? Is that our responsibility?
That is our
Okay.
responsibility.
So what are we gonna do there? I knew that answer, but,
Right.
Um,
Well, we can use
the
the
we got
jail
900
inmates,
miles of
and
dirt
then
road.
I just got a contact from Jackson CI that they're gonna start letting a few inmates back out with our inmate supervisors. They don't have a corrections officer, so I gotta call them and get out of this meeting. See, but we historically in the past, we picked up where we mowed, and then we just tried to take care of what was on the dirt roads, would hotspot it, whatever.
We actually have a crew at the jail. It was Corey Jones. They do dirt roads. That position's currently vacant, but I talked with Chief Jeter yesterday about getting that filled back once we got. Inmates have just been doing paved roads right now as best they could, but getting them back focused on dirt roads once we get this contract
How
in
many
place.
inmates?
It depends on what they can get.
2 to 3,
It's
4.
one crew, but that's what we've just always done for
That's what we
dirt road
always done.
solution.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would it be fair to request, again, for my benefit, maybe Commissioner McKinney's as well, a map or a list of the roads that would be included?
Yes, sir. I'll send it's broken down by district. No, but I'll send you the whole county, but I mean, it's broken down by
I
district.
would just like to know which roads that those would include.
Yes, sir. I'll send it to you.
Okay. Any more
So,
questions?
so the bid again, Mr. Chairman, is 294.63.
Mhm.
And that's
And that does not include any of any additions. That's just a base bid.
No, that's the next thing is they had a price of $24,505 to go around and do a one-time mass, cut around all the guardrails, pedestals, telephone poles, signposts, anything that's that's a structure on the sides in our right of ways, cut it down, not any tree limb and the brush cut and all that. But for $24,000, they'll go around and cut around all the guardrails and everything one time.
What is the issue with guardrails? I mean, don't we have an arm that we can cut behind guardrails?
Well, you can, it's just, you got 4 brush cutters and you got a big county. I
We
mean,
have 4 brush cutters?
They're on my district.
like I said, I mean,
Well, I thought before, wasn't they included in this when the
Oh,
mowing
well,
contracts
yeah,
were
they
Goodyear?
got a
Wasn't
call.
it part of that?
well, that's when they were mowing.
Right, right,
Right, they mowed, they picked up the litter and they weed eated.
right. But I mean, as far as just the mowing aspect of it, when the mowing contract, did they have embedded in that contractual agreement to do the behind the guardrails with Goodwill and what's the guy at Dothan, whatever his name was?
Yeah, most of the time
They
all those contracts included, cutting around the guardrails and all that.
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
What's the timeframe of them starting? 'Cause
30
they're-
days.
From now?
Right.
So we're middle of May, so it'll just be, we only don't pay them.
And they may get started sooner, but
They're not getting a full
our
amount.
procurement typically from notice of award gives them 15 days to get their paperwork and bonds and everything back to us.
Okay.
By the time we get it back to them, it's normally gonna be,
All right, so if we just hypothetically say it's gonna be May 15th.
Right.
Just for ease of math. So they're only this contract will follow all the way through the starting period next year.
yes,
Okay, so they'll be
They'll be-
paid in full, but it won't be,
they'll be paid
They'll
monthly.
do it.
They'll be paid monthly based on the verified
Performance.
miles of the road.
who's verifying it? That's it. It's gonna be a supervisor?
It will be either me, Kenny, or Dale, the mowing supervisor, or whoever else, one district supervisor, whoever we need to be, but one of us will be verifying it.
And I guess we've come up with this several years ago, maybe even before Peacock come on board, but is there any insurance on we had, the mailbox was tore down, the phone jack
It's all
box.
in there that if there's any damage done
Any
by
complaints,
them,
no questions asked.
no
no
questions asked, that the
litigation.
final determination is made by me, and that's fine. It says it in
That's not
there. Chances are they will get less than the mowers.
So what is your recommendation to do the litter pickup and that one
Yes,
pass?
sir. I would do that one-time thing, 'cause
Does that change who got the bid?
no,
On that, one-time little trimming, trimming, mass trimming, what about, chemical treatment for us when they do the?
this doesn't include any of that. No. That's something we have to address separately.
Yeah, we don't talk about it in a minute.
We're gonna talk about it in a minute, but, something we'd have to address separately because there's a lot of craziness. I mean,
There's a
Right.
lot to chemicals.
So I'd like to make a motion, and again, make sure I'm clear. The 24-505-25 is for one pass.
one pass, that they gonna go
And they don't do that at the beginning or the middle or the end?
beginning. They gonna pick up litter, and if they're gonna do both of them, they're gonna start both of them. Cause I'm gonna go ahead and get all that cut down, that way anything that's in there, you can see it can be got up.
I got you. Okay, I'll make,
Let me ask you, how long will it take them to do that one pass?
I would say it's probably
30
gonna,
days?
it's probably gonna take them probably 45 days, just on that cutting on that one pass.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Hill.
I'll give you a chance. I made a motion we had set 318, 568, 25 as the total for the two alternate, for the one alternate, including that's what my math come up to. For the, 6 months, 12 months of trash pickup with a one-time route of the, behind the guardrails.
And what was your total? Eric?
My numbers run 318, 568, 25.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hill to accept the low bid, and also the one-time mowing behind the guardrails.
Just a quick question. I assume that all three of these bidders have been vetted. I mean, you feel
Yes.
comfortable with Collins?
Yes, I mean, and they're qualified. And they've completed contract with DOT and all that. So, I mean, yes.
We do have the option to cancel the contract. I haven't seen it.
After a year. But also.
No,
renew it.
if they don't
Or if
perform.
if they don't perform. Yeah, if they don't perform, you know, right.
If
Okay,
they don't
And then after
perform,
you-
then we can just cash bond in. We terminate the agreement and cash bond.
Yes, and that was one of the things that the bond company, we got with
The previous
the
one.
mowing bond, is that they would have preferred us to notify them so that they could have retained another company to come in and finish the contract. Throwing that out.
Well, did they put that in the contractual
We would
agreement with
like
that?
yes.
I didn't see anything in that thing that said we had to notify them. They basically defunct on the contract.
It was a preference.
Okay.
Okay. All right, got a motion and a second. Any more questions?
Where are they from?
That one of them,
Florida.
I'll strike
they're
it.
Florida, but
I'll strike it.
they're right in here, in this one, in this area. They work here.
It don't matter.
That's good.
I can't remember exactly.
Any more questions? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
Just another quick question. How many people do they think that they will employ in carrying out this contract?
20, on average, they said they would have 20 people on the ground.
Wow.
20 on the ground, they're gonna be able to.
They're going to be
Hey,
busy.
listen, this ain't gonna end up being that $41,000 contract we got screwed on the
Well,
last time.
All of these companies that bid it.
I mean, that's not even
all of
$10,000
these
a
companies
year.
bid it, they've been on DOT contract and all that, and, covers 7, 8, 10, 12, 14 miles with 2 guys, picking up, because they're on side. The guy that we got last year,
Well, I was just saying, if you do the math on what which we did on that, it looks like that bid amount, you're not even, you're.
well, I mean, there's no way I look at it that I can.
I understand your position. My position, I just don't get in a
Right.
situation where. we
Oh,
don't-
I know. No, I mean, they've completed enough contracts with DOT and other places, that, and with them
Okay.
having a performance bond like that,
Okay, that's
You
good.
know, I
So
mean-
we feel solid. Okay.
yeah, it's just,
Scott.
You think they, I was just going to say, do you think they can do it in 30 days?
I think so.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, the first time it may take them a few days more, but once they figure out a rhythm,
Oh, yeah.
because not every road is just inundated with litter. And that's, but if they're not having to pick up a road because there's nothing on it, they're not going to pay. We're
Well, I
going to pay
think-
it by the miles verified.
Well, they actually come by my house the first time since, I guess, October of last year. They come by, literally, they're parked in my yard this morning, and I left on the field side of the road. But I think the call volume is about to increase dramatically, because those, one piece of material just went to 10,000 pieces when that
Oh,
bush
yeah.
hog hit them. So, and also they're more visible now, because the grass is lower.
So like I said, I'm gonna speak to them after the board meeting and, see.
But we're still talking another mowing cycle possible between they get to it. If you're talking about 45 days possibly for everything.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
hoping that they can get started quicker.
Yeah,
But I
and
mean,
if we can extend that offer that we did with to have some of the inmates, if we were available to hit the main thoroughfare roads and make
Right.
it look a little bit
Yeah,
better.
we're
in the
gonna-
middle. So that'll help some.
and like I said, if you do see a spot or get a call by spot, let me know and I'll send somebody to get that area cleaned up. That's kind of what we did last year, you know, when we didn't have anything, if we got a call and it was really bad, or if they hit something, we just went and got it.
Ms. Daniel,
Yes, sir.
since we got Scotty here, do we want to go ahead and talk about, the brush cutting or go further into the,
I love to talk about brush cutting. I would love to.
Well,
you're gonna
You got
start
an
tomorrow?
I really do.
We got all them waiting for one conversation.
I mean, I can, wouldn't,
You can wait?
yeah.
All right, we'll wait till the end and we'll
Okay.
talk
Yeah.
brush cutting and, everything. All right. All right, Ms. Willan. You're up
Actually, Mr. Potts is going to present this item.
again.
Hello, good morning again.
Morning.
So at the 3/9/2021 special meeting, you asked us to provide a property update for you. So what you see in front of you is a spreadsheet of what we think is the entirety of the Jackson County properties that we own. So it's about 130 properties. You'll see kind of went through all the parcels there.
I think you're talking about this.
No, it's
No,
in
it's
the
in
regular
it's
meeting
in
packet.
there.
Special meeting.
On the back. of the
Turn
book.
to the special meeting.
What page?
Page
And
2.
so sort of by way of explanation, we went through all the different parcels, kind of saw where they were, if there's anything on there, or what's the historical value of it. So basically, the highlighted ones are the ones that I think maybe present good candidates for possible use for something else. You can kind of look at the little comments on there as well. And some of these are, you know, depending on what you want to do with them or what you may want to pursue after the opportunities for them. Some of those are in flood zones, some of those are, you know, ag use, some of those are government use, but we can kind of work through them individually as needed.
And I was going to just add, if it's okay, that we're really just because we promised an update, but in the meantime, I was contacted and I don't know enough to get into any details, but there is a local group that is interested in partnering with the county on possibly some of these parcels to build homes on. And so,
You're talking about for reimbursement to us or just partner with us, we give them the land and they build
we
a
give
house?
the land, they build the house, and it would be for, in an effort specifically for long-term recovery efforts for people who still need housing. And so I don't have enough information because I actually have a meeting with them tomorrow. But did want y'all to know that, I felt like that was sort of the goal, was to get a home on these properties. And so there is a desire out there to partner in some way to do that. Even an organization that will come and do the actual building for free. And then, kind of pair up the property, the home building, and then the labor is also volunteer to get it done. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we've made any specific decisions that is on a possibility.
Okay. I'm looking at this list, number 6. Shows Pooter Road, 80 acres. Where is that? Is that part of
That's part of Endeavor.
Endeavor? Okay.
And I got property number 70, which is the property we inquired about at the last board meeting. And it's incorporated with conservation. Is there any ties to that to the state? That's one in Indian Springs.
Yes,
on-
so we cannot sell that. We
We can't.
can't.
So what can we do with it?
I actually think that the ultimate desire was for there to be some kind of park built there, but, we don't have any funding to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I would imagine the homes out there, in that area, I don't know if that would, but we can't get rid of that.
And I didn't mean to step on Hunter's toes, but he can tell you more. He actually looked it up. There's a deed restriction on that property, right, Hunter?
Yes, there is, because of the way it's zoned.
Is it belong to us or is it through lease to us through the state with the deed restriction?
I believe it's leased. I can look up the actual deed after this, but I believe it's leased to us.
You said it was-
deed restriction.
You said because of the way it was zoned?
No,
That's what you said.
the deed's restricted.
I heard that, but you
Yeah.
said, by the way, I mean. it
But
was
also
zoned.
probably the way it's zoned too, because it's zoned, let's see, 70 is.
That's
zoned-
residential because
Yeah.
the houses are next to a
But we
lease.
checked-
No, it's
Yeah.
in conservation.
we changed
Zone
that.
conservation.
It's just
so we
the
can look at
deed
what
restriction
that
is
means.
the problem.
Yeah,
But-
you can't get around that.
So if it's set aside conservation, it means it's set aside by the state to not be sites are utilized in any other way besides being vacant.
I would recommend, the commissioners take a good look at that. If you got specific questions,
Yeah, so this is. for
bring
your
them back
review.
to,
What
Hunter.
is the yellow? That's the ones you think we can do something with?
Right.
Okay.
Is there-
Number 7, the prison. I didn't know we owned the prison. I know we own some property there.
So that one is actually, I learned about this during this process. That one's actually owned by the Jackson County West Development Council,
Which is a,
which
And-
is us and Condell and Graceville. So we actually can't sell that one unless we all agreed to sell that one.
but then also, oh, boy, did I see work camp?
Right. So that's,
Graceville work camp. They
that's-
just closed that, I
right.
think.
Well, I heard.
So that's also the
Alright.
West Development Council
that-
as well.
Okay, all that. Okay.
Does this list include any of the properties that we may have recently gotten from JCDC?
Yeah, so I actually looked at the special meeting, or the meeting minutes from that one, and I have the list of those properties. I'm gonna go back and see if those are actually have been put in our name, but I think we would had to have come before us to do so, and it hasn't came back since August 2020, so I don't think we've actually officially received those.
So you're basically saying the ones that's highlighted in yellow is the ones that we can actually possibly sell.
Right,
And do we have an assessment on those or any?
so it just depends on the property. I mean, there's so many of them. Just kind of look at them individually, and we can check and see what the property appraiser site has and what the appraised value is. And
There's some in Compass Lake in the Hills. Any more questions?
Three
Be nice to get
lots,
things on these
out
things.
there. You had 3 lots on the Compass Lake and Hills, because you had to go to that letter they sent out. Is it 2 or 3? You had to send that letter when they tried to do us an assessment. 3.
Just 3 of them.
I think we've got that situation where they wanted to charge us an assessment, but it had to be volunteered.
And that's 98, 99, and 100?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see.
Okay, anything else? I would, like I said, I would advise you to take a very close look at this and get back with Mr. Hunter, maybe at another meeting. You got some ideas.
yeah, and we did find the one you asked about. I think last time was the Graceful property on Peanut Road. That's the last one, 129.
Okay,
Let's look at that one.
I had a question on Spruce Road too.
Which one is that?
I don't know if it's on there.
No.
But anyway,
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Mr. David Melvin.
So, kind of give you an update on Endeavor. So I got 2 things, a change order under our demolition contract, and then a update on where kind of looking at getting some direction on to spend the remainder of our job growth grant funds on that. Not sure which order you want to take those in. And maybe we go through the project and the update, and you can see how that kind of fits in with the change order on a few items. So the cover sheet to that has the budget on it to the aerials, kind of a breakdown of we received the grant for the $5.88 million is the total grant funds. Then you got the engineering services. Then construction, 4.8 million. We've got an amendment pending with DEO that realigns these budgets, but pretty sure that it'll go through like that. So 4.8 million for the construction. Let me jump down and explain the autism, then we'll go back because the construction may want to talk about a little bit more. So in that budget is also the autism equipment supplies, $50,000. And then the autism program development and training, $650,000. And you have a contract with First Place Arizona to develop the program for $278,000. And so that leaves us with $372,000 in the autism to hire the individuals and start the program and all like that. And And we're working with First Place to develop the details on that budget. We had an hour and a half phone call yesterday, working on developing that budget. So any questions on those before we go back to construction breakdown? So on the,
David,
yes, sir.
the 278,000 program design, what is that?
That's the contract that you have with Denise Resnick and First Place Arizona, that they're developing the program, all the materials for it, giving us job descriptions, coach us through the process of hiring the individuals to start the program, and then they'll oversee the start of the program. So it's all those services.
Okay,
So then the 372, is that a kind of a budget for maybe a year's?
That's what,
for,
yeah,
Annual,
yeah,
for operating the program?
Exactly.
Salaries,
Yeah.
utilities, whatever.
That's right. About hopefully a year and a half, 2 years. So
5,880,000.
in that meantime, we've got to start bringing in
That's
additional
The
revenue.
grant.
That's what it's for.
So we got about.
So the total grant was 5,880,000.
Correct.
Okay, so
Right.
we got,
About a little over 3 million left.
3 million left that
Yeah.
we'll be talking about.
Yeah. So now so under the construction, we have our demolition bid in there that's coming pretty close to the completion. And so what's contained in the change order today, to add to that, if you look at the change order, I think it's in your books, in the second sheet on that. I think it's in your notebooks. It's not in.
Yeah.
what I handed.
What page are you on?
9 in your notebook.
If you look at the second sheet, it gives the sheet out, the backside of that sheet, I guess it is.
So,
For you guys on there. So in this change order, one thing that we're looking at putting forward in change order is going ahead and doing the demolition, the interior demolition for the autism school. And that way it allows us to, we're getting close to having the plans to bid that out. It allows the contractors to come and see that the ceiling tiles and all that has been removed. Everything in the building, all the old mechanical equipment is removed. And then, so it's a cost that we'd have to do in a contract, but it's better to do it now. We got a demo contractor to take care of it and help us get better bids when we bid the next phase, because we can see everything will be exposed.
is that
there.
what that 170,000 change orders for?
So look at, yes, so but look at the second sheet, this sheet. I think it's the backside of your change order, back sheet of it. That's what I'm,
And it's page 10 in your packet.
okay,
So it's got some gym in there. Oh, it's
Okay,
not
and
all,
so-
it's not just the autism.
that's right. So that's the autism, the gym, same thing of going ahead and doing the demolition in it and the asbestos removal.
Wait a
in the
minute, you
gym.
got partial asbestos.
And the reason I say partial is like there's asbestos in the window caulk. Well, we don't want to remove the windows
Right,
now. There's
okay.
some, there's not very much asbestos left after this 49,000. It's just, I think it's probably just primarily the window caulk. There may be some floor tiles in an area that we are on the, but we're getting most all the floor tiles.
I think so. I think maybe there was some question about the wood flooring, maybe.
Yeah,
some-
the wood flooring, there's some under it, but we didn't want to touch that yet. And so.
Will they, would you tell them?
I just texted you.
Thank you.
And so those costs are, TDC eligible costs. I mean, they're working in the job growth grant, but the gym rehab is a TDC expense. So if you want to, you can reimburse yourself out of TDC funds for that. or not. I mean, that's up to you.
What,
on that, but-
I'm concerned about the medical building out there. They went out, tore off the fascia, and they left the plywood exposed. And the longer it sits there, the more it's being damaged. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, that's
Why
a,
would we do
Huh?
that? I guess the question is, why would we do that?
It's a good building.
it-
No,
it
it
had
won't
the-
be. It won't be.
Yeah, the building, so it's and Paul can address this better than I can. It's a concrete slab building that they built up the truss on and put that ceiling, but that fascia around had asbestos containing material in it. And so that's the reason it got stripped off out there.
So the plywood's no good either way.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think so.
okay.
I think when you redid that, you'd probably strip all of that roof off of there because it wouldn't meet wind codes and everything now. And, yeah, you know, some water's getting into the building in there, but there's no.
David, I
good
got a question about
answer.
about the church. We talked about possibly in the future making that a boardroom, just looking at that possibility. What's being looked at from that perspective?
Yeah, so let me, maybe let me go through, finish
Yeah,
with this
sure.
and then jump because then I'll turn. So in this, that's the gym, the White House, just going ahead in this contract of pressure washing, painting it and putting a spray foam roof on it. So it'll all be in good shape and going ahead and getting that one knocked out. We had a lot more, well, we had 10 trees that died. That's part of the change order here that died, that were not identified in the original on it. We got a little overrun on our select field dirt, topsoil out there. And then the stumps, we bid 50 stumps and we're up to 500 stumps out there, but I got the contractor to reduce the price on those from $200 a stump to $50 a stump. But that should be the end of it. So that's what's contained in the change order, and this should be pretty much filing out the demo out there.
In the White House, you know, it goes through, but it says inside and floor.
And the floor, yeah.
What are you gonna do on the floor and what are we allowed to do? I mean,
It's pressure washing everything in there and doing a concrete seal.
okay,
On
but
the
you're
floor.
not putting a new flooring in there,
No.
wood floor.
It's
I mean, it's
pressure
gonna,
washing that concrete
it's gonna
floor
stay.
and putting
Okay.
a seal coat on it
Okay.
when he paints
Mr. Hill?
the
Yeah,
wall.
that's what I was getting
Yeah.
at. We don't wanna alter
No,
the
no.
looks inside of
It's
clean.
you know, we kind of get hit up, White House boys and all coming, and it's
Lining.
moldy and this and
Yeah.
that. And so this will solve that problem.
Right.
We'll have a
Oh, no, I
roof
just wanna
that doesn't
make-
leak anymore on it, and it'll all be pressure washed and painted.
So define to me what's a closed cell foam roof? I know what a closed cell is, but I never heard of the term. Are you putting it underneath the roof or are you talking about?
No, you put it on top. It's
I
a
didn't
roof.
see that.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's closed cell, it's waterproof, so.
Yeah, it's a closed cell, high density. I got it on my
Oh.
Daffin building, had it on there for 15 years.
Oh, good.
And
So what's
I've been real.
the texture of it? What does it look like? I've never seen one that's.
Dense insulation.
It's bent, you can walk on it, you know, if you took a hammer and hit it or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
you'd mess
Oh,
with
neat,
it.
I hadn't heard that.
I tell the story that in the hurricane, it blew over a ton of lime rock blocks onto mine and didn't damage that foam. You
How
would have
thick
thought
is
it would take an inch and a half.
Very good.
Yeah. And it lends itself where, because this is a solid concrete slab roof up there. And so
Lightweight, you don't have to add
it's an easy, yeah, it's an
It's
easy,
cheaper.
inexpensive way to do it. And it's insulation too. You get a lot of insulation. out of it.
What about the fence that goes around the White House? You know, state says we're going to put a fence around.
No, we don't have to put a fence.
They backed off of that? You better go back. and
There
look.
wasn't a fence, it was just, you had to provide a buffer area, around it. That's in-
Wasn't the
that's in
fence
the
at
deed.
the grade side? Didn't we put up a small fence? at the
We
grade
put
side?
out small, kind of as decorative
Yeah,
around
sure.
the, and Department of Management Services paid for that fence around it. You know, what I envision happening with the White House is they're moving forward with their sculptures, and probably be the fall when they'll be ready to locate those next to the White House, and that'll kind of fit in with the museum design and all out there. So that'll kind of all be a museum area with the sculptures and the White House.
You said those, how many sculptures? I thought one. No?
It's
I thought it was just one.
Yeah. I think
it's
the
one.
rest,
Have you seen the picture? I mean, when
I
I say
have.
sculpture, it's multiple figures.
Figures.
It's probably 10 people or 8 people sculptured in it. That's the
I
reason I
remember
call
seeing
it
it.
sculpture.
Okay.
So it is one sculpture
How
group.
large is it?
You know, I don't,
Well, I think
my guess is it's probably 15 by 20 or something like that. I've just seen the photos of it, and I assume that they're doing
I remember
it kind
seeing
of
it.
life size. So it's like 8 or 10.
I would have guessed
Boys.
12 by 16.
Yeah,
basically
something
looking
like
at
that. Yeah. And they may do something around it. I mean, I assume they'll put it on they may put it on a slab or do something like that on it.
Okay.
So so with that in mind, jumping over to how do we spend the rest of the money? And so over in that right column, the plan use, and that's what, you know, the aerial kind of shows you there. We'll have the autism building renovations, and we're estimating that since we're doing $50,000 worth of demo or whatever the demo was on that, about $550,000 or so is what we're estimating that'll be. Big ticket item out there is restoring all the electrical service out there. FPU originally gave you a cost of about 1.6 million, and we're working with them to see if we can scale that back, and I think we can save some money. And where I'm going on this is these items in plan use is putting together that as a bid package and putting that, coming back to you and putting that out for bid. So in the electrical, we put in our bid package installing the conduit. Of course, you always got the choice of do you go underground or overhead, and we'd all like to go underground, especially wherever we can out there. And we can save money if we put in the conduit and FPU, they just come in and pull the wires out there. So, but that $1 million is my rough estimate of what the conduit and FPU's cost would be on there. The lighting fixtures, what we kind of envision in that is keeping the current lighting fixtures, going in there and painting them because they're historic in a way, but re-outfitting them with LED lights, a lot nicer fixture element on the end of it.
Have we looked at maybe going solar on those?
I have. I mean, it's quite a bit more expensive.
What the power bill each month?
Yeah. And when you put in these LED street lights, your power bill's not very much. And going this route, you'll pay the power bill. You'll have to maintain the lights, but but it's a lot less than paying FPU a fixture price. That's what Mariana started doing. These lights and all that Mariana has, those are Mariana lights, and they just pay a meter bill with FPU on it. And we've got the old poles, and they're in pretty good shape. And you know, we think maybe paint them black and red, and you know, and keep the historic context. So I'm hoping the 60,000 is a pretty high price on that, but we will have to install conduit to keep the lighting, the wiring underground on those. Then paving Endeavor Boulevard and paving Governor Scott Drive. And so those are the two main roads out there. And some of those roads some of those areas need road reconstruction. You drove through the water this morning in that area, they'll need reconstruction. And what I like to do is put at the intersection there, put a roundabout where the boulevard connects with, Governor Scott Road there.
Ain't no roundabout.
That way the county can say they got a roundabout. And you can
For all
you can
your
be
opinions,
modern.
for all
I don't like roundabouts.
Peacock gets confused on roundabouts.
Yeah.
He wants
Getting
to go
But
Yes,
around.
it
you go
lends
round and
itself,
around.
it lends itself pretty well there, because that'll be kind of a traffic area. And then the thing I like, it'll allow us to carve that out as an entry area, even though we'll have the entry up by the gym and the entry off South Street. If you come to either one, you never really know which is the entry, but that kind of sets the tone there. And I think we can do that pretty inexpensively there as a part of this reconstruction. And I think it'll set a real nice tone for the facility there. And I kind of showing that little light blue line of, we can connect that road that goes to the circle area into that roundabout, so you don't have a lot of intersections. You can put it all into that one roundabout
Would
area.
the other road go away then?
Yeah, the other road would go away. Yeah,
Makes sense.
and just kind of shift it over and,
It's kind of an odd, it was kind of an odd little
yeah,
jog there. anyway.
jog right there on it. And it makes our entry to our autism right now, it's kind of awkward of how you have to kind of turn to get to the autism center, because you left turn. You know, this wasn't set up for traffic. This was behind the fence area. in there,
David,
so-
the old administration building that's right in front, just to the left of the roundabout, that building is
You're
gone.
gone. That's
So
right.
could that road, instead of being at an angle, just go straight across?
Yeah, it could. It could. I was just thinking that, yeah, that's probably a better route to do it, is to connect it there. I was just kind of doing
Yeah.
it conceptually, but yeah, no reason not to tie in straight through there. So that's paving those two roads, which I think we all know that's pretty important priority, getting those roads paved. Then our parking lot for the autism facility. Then we've got some water lines extensions that need to go ahead and be put in out there. And read a little bit about, because the sheriff wants to go ahead and activate the dog kennel, and it needs water. I don't know if they solved that problem, but we got to run the water line down there. So potentially, if we need to get the water to the dog kennel sooner, we could do that as a part of our demo contract and get them to go ahead and lay that.
Would we
line
want
in,
that
so-
dog kennel there at our entrance of Endeavor, or closer to the sheriff's department?
I'm not sure what they're
Yeah, I
using
don't
it
know.
for.
I thought I saw a dog out there this morning.
They do have a dog,
Somebody's got a dog in that kennel.
but do we want that there? I think that dog kennel needs to be.
Is it a dog? It is a dog kennel.
Oh,
now.
it's a
It was,
facility.
Or those are, yeah.
It's a pretty nice
It's
dog
solid
kennel
concrete.
facility. I mean,
I think Ollie Stoudemire, I think, was one of the ones that originally run that place back in the dog.
That was one thing about Partners for Pets. I mean, I don't know that it was big enough, then we said we didn't want no dog
Well,
on
yeah,
Partners for
yeah,
Pets.
I
at
don't
the
think you,
entrance.
I'm not sure what arrangement y'all have with the sheriff and who's
We
doing
don't.
what, and,
Do we?
The only thing that's been discussed is them looking into what it would take to get it up and ready to house. But I told him that there was no guarantee that could stay there long-term, depending on what y'all decided to do to house the canine unit.
Get Charlie to move it.
Yeah.
So they were looking at water, different things, but everyone knows that may not stay there long-term.
But if it does, it definitely needs to be buffered, I would think.
Yeah.
You know, with some
But,
landscaping. or
yeah,
something.
but there's no telling what else is gonna go there, so
right,
that needs to be very close to the sheriff's department.
yeah, and, you know, when we were looking at the housing, it would have gone in that area too.
And
You know, when we were looking at housing, they didn't really want us to be on the backside. They wanted us to be more in the road. So anyway, that's, and then the last thing is the wastewater improvements. And I think we'll be able to utilize a grant that the city's receiving to take care of so that was the wastewater issues out there that still remain. I think we can work well with the city on that and utilize their grant funds to take care of that. So that saves quite a bit of money.
What
So
would you estimate those costs to be roughly? Any
For the
idea
wastewater? You know, it may have been, let me see, some of these are the old sheets where I presented this priority to you November 12th, 2019. So, yeah, you can
We
see on
move at the
those
speed of light.
wastewater sheets.
No,
Being facetious.
Looks like we had a couple of $100,000 in there on it, which I think we can pick up with the city grant on that. So now to go back to answer a question about the church or those other things it's all a matter of money,
Well, that's really not, well, I mean, when you have the principal people out there and the trades out there, that's my answer. If there's stuff, I don't think the ceiling tiles, I know there was one little tiny leak literally behind where the pulpit used to be that was still tiny little thing.
But that's got a new roof on that.
Right, since
And
then.
so-
But
and
we
so-
talked about it one time, taking the steeple down off of that. We had, I don't remember who it was, Pam might have still been here at the time, and interlacing and covering that back up. So we could use it, more of a,
Yeah, the church wouldn't take too much.
No, that's right.
to
but if there are people who are out there,
reactivate
that's right.
on that.
So one of my questions is those highways that's coming up there, obviously that church at one time had a parking lot. It seemed like this was to the side of the highway, it connected to the highway there. Is there any means for when that does? I believe, I don't remember how many parking spots was on that. I guess that would be east side. I don't know how y'all calibrate. I still say east.
Well, and what we have planned for, or working on plans for the Civic Center, Convention Center,
Right.
and our shelter would have a large parking lot between the gym and the church, and so.
What area down there in the grassy area between it, or where are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah, and we have
Pull
plans
back toward the church.
Yeah.
of all that, but yeah, it's the area between the church and the gym. That
But you-
would, that would be almost a full parking lot there. I forgot how many spaces. It's 400 or something like that.
Over 300.
So we'd have something really too close to my concern was just the distance between those. I mean, you're saying so the parking lot could possibly come all the way up toward the church, again, the
Yeah,
west
yeah,
side.
we have a parking lot that's designed that goes from the gym to the church and connects to
Okay.
the church.
So we wouldn't need to have the additional parking spots where they are now at the church, off that little road. I mean, if we don't need them, that's fine, as long as there's
Yeah.
I just don't want someone having to walk whatever distance that is.
Yeah, all the way from the
Yeah,
gym
that-
up the hill. That'd be a
Yeah,
good-
that'd
Yeah,
be
yeah,
a task. That's my
Yeah,
point, is if we could widen that highway on that side that's already.
Well, in the autism center, I mean, it'll be across the road, but it'll have parking right there in front of it
Right.
as well. And there will be some up in front of the gym on this road is some kind of on-street parking because it was wide enough to do that.
Right.
All that said, if you said, "Oh, I've got a use for the church, this is what we want
Well,
to do,"
I think
and
we've had discussion.
We probably need to do some parking specifically for it while the way, we're hoping.
Well, again,
for-
it had parking spots there already on that side of the
Yeah,
street.
yeah. it
So
did.
if I just talk about reclaim those, if you're doing the paving there, because I guess that would be just.
Yeah,
widening.
let me look at that as we do the paving. No, I haven't looked at that from that standpoint, but I will.
And I guess the second question, kind of the overall project, and I know that we talked about this before, was what's our opportunities? We have obviously plenty of land out there, and where's the opportunity? The sheriff's office, which is a big energy consumption project, and we don't have the Endeavor, the autism, we don't have the shelter and all. Is there a mechanism for us to get solar out there?
Well, here's what, just my
Sure.
philosophy a little bit is that our new federal administration is all about that, and I look for, when they do this infrastructure or
Okay.
grant.
Well, I just don't want to miss opportunity.
I look for them to push solar and, I'll be surprised if our
So-
new
so-
administration doesn't come out with some solar programs and all
Why don't
of
pick your
that.
brain a little bit? How much acreage would you think would need to help offset that consumption of energy in that plaza out there, for lack of better words, dude?
Yeah, I mean,
The
not
sheriff's
putting-
office,
not
sheriff's office,
putting,
what, 10,400 a month on average for electric bill right now? And we'll have the other, I think, our jail, which is across the
I mean,
street.
that's just an acre or so.
Yeah, just for the,
Yeah.
and what was it, how big is the one that's out there at the airport? 2 acres?
It's about 2 acres. The one that's right down here for the wastewater treatment plant, and I'm going off the top of my head a little bit. I know we got 7 acres there, and the wastewater treatment plant electric bill was about $300,000 a year. So 7 acres handled a $300,000 a year electric bill.
So, which goes more to my point, if we can, I mean, I know that's up to, at the federal level to help assist that with that, but I mean, is there a way to connect our jail? I don't know what the distance is from the jail up there from as far as connecting that power wise, but our jail could also use some
Yeah.
power. So would that could be, be done on one grid from one location and then send it out?
Yeah, the secret on it is net metering with Florida Public Utilities, and you have to run it through that entity's meter.
Sure.
But if you put say you put a 10-acre solar
Sure.
field out there, you'd run the transmission voltage, the high voltage, so that you wouldn't have the voltage drop, but you'd run it and put a transformer and tie into any location
Okay, I got
that you wanted to. So it wouldn't, I say that to say it wouldn't have to be that close. What we did for the wastewater treatment plant, that solar field is way up the hill by the
Right.
cemetery, and we run it all the way, but we have to run it all the way back to the wastewater treatment plant because it has to go through their meter. You can't do a thing of, well, let's meter it up there and meter it here and subtract the two.
So if we build it on the west side, again, of Penn Avenue, what I'm talking about, over there by the jail, we could obviously pipe it in across to
Yes.
the east side. But it also could be a benefit as it does what's the building, the old Unimac, what's the name of the company? Home Front, Home Source.
Catalyst.
Catalyst. Now, what's Home Source? What is it? One time.
Home Source was the company
Original.
before Catalyst. Yeah.
So it saves around 61,000 a year on their electric bill. Is that right?
That's right.
And so, is there a way for us to also offer that opportunities to businesses that's coming inside Project Blue Sky and the subsequent maybe properties that Mr. Downs properties is doing benefit? Is there some way, again, to look at that through a big picture from maybe 500 to 5,000 feet up and just say, this is where we need to put it at acreage wise?
Yeah. And so kind of on solar right now, if you have to pay the full cost for the solar and you net meter it, it's a break even, it's not there. So you want grant
Oh,
funds
yeah, absolutely.
on it. So for the city, for the wastewater treatment plants, and all, they got an 80% grant and the city had to put in 20%. And that made it economical. Out of Catalyst, because they were creating jobs, we used the CDBG ED grant and we got 100% grant, $1.5 million, 100% grants, but it has to be tied to job creation.
Blue Sky,
So
we're qualified.
so if we, except we're already getting,
Use that.
we already used their
We
grant
never did.
to get that. So
But
usually
you got
if-
other businesses coming.
if somebody's built as creating jobs, then, you can either use it for infrastructure, but you can't do that. So if we had somebody that wanted to move in one of those dorms and they didn't need the money to provide any other infrastructure, we could build the solar for that. But I'm thinking there's gonna be some solar programs that'll probably come out, in this, I hadn't looked at this new infrastructure bill and all, but
All
I
right,
think there will be some.
David, one more question.
Yes, sir.
When are we gonna start grinding the concrete?
I think he's pretty close to doing that. I didn't ask the question we could ask the
Okay.
guy Danny today, but I would think in the next 3 or 4 weeks, he'll probably say whenever you want it, they'll bring the grinder over to start. But
Have
they're
you
at
and
the end of their contract and they got everything there, so next 3 or 4
have you and
weeks.
Scotty gotten together to determine where you're gonna pile it?
We've talked some, but we can get back
Okay.
together.
All right. Any more questions for Mr. Melvin?
We need to
Approve the change order.
Okay. Unfortunately, Mr. Hill is gone.
I need to recuse myself.
Okay, we still got 3. Do I hear a motion to approve the change order?
So move.
I have a motion by Commissioner McKinney. Do I hear a second?
I second
Set
it.
your finger up there. Got a second by Commissioner Pate. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, Commissioner Donna Crowe has recused himself.
On the convention center. Am I right that we didn't get the grant for or whatever it was for the special needs shelter?
So that grant, they divided into $210 million rounds. So that was the first round. And so the second round, they hadn't announced when, but it'll be coming in the next 2 or 3 months. I think we stand a fair chance of resubmitting it the next round for it.
And as I understand it, if we're not successful the second time, then we jump back and basically just design it and build it as just a conference center.
And then how long are where are we at that?
But we got plans and we could,
Well, I know
we
we
could adjust it.
picked that because we thought that was the quickest, easiest thing to get started.
And
We
the way
hadn't
it's,
started.
the way
I mean,
that
we
we've got it
can't, but-
designed, and David knows this, is that the primary difference between it being an emergency shelter and just being a conference center was the addition that we did on the north side. So to go in and modify the plans, we just basically take that addition off of it is the primary difference. And then the emergency power goes away, the emergency power requirement. goes
yeah,
away.
so
Well, for
If
convention
you-
center, you're gonna need some generators.
Well,
So we
I mean,
can't use it for
if you-
children?
if it's
We
not-
don't know if we're gonna get
Get
the
it
money.
yet.
I mean, what I'm thinking is let's wait for this next round, because that's a lot of money, and I think we stand a fair chance of getting it. And that next round will probably happen in the next 3 or 4 months. And
Is that a decision this board needs to provide direction on? I mean,
we
specifically,
can wait till
I mean,
that grant, well, you know, you can do what you want to, but we don't have to, we got to wait till the grant comes out for the submittal.
I guess I'm just asking this board, I think that's
If that's-
probably the option that we should choose is wait for a few more months and see if we get the money.
I mean, the
Well,
other
I
option
think
is
that's-
you tell us,
I don't know
no, I
that,
just want to do a civic
I don't think
center
the
and move
board has to
ahead.
make have a motion or anything on it right now.
I think it's,
We're just kind of, we've told them to go forward, and we're just waiting.
I think we ought to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
And I
you.
think one thing that, a little bit of negative we had submitting the first time was they looked at Endeavor and said, we gave you a $5 million grant, and you hadn't spent all of it yet. And so I think moving
Took
forward.
care of that, aren't we?
Yeah, so we can take care of that. So I think we'll be in a good position, certainly no guarantee. And if we get that grant, then we'll have a facility that we can be very proud of
Good.
out there.
All right, Mr. Melvin, we appreciate it.
And
Moving
don't
along.
forget our baseball tonight and still.
That's
wait for
right.
kids
You
to
don't
make
ask
it.
about this now.
Oh, he told me that was, the Seminoles are winning.
Yeah.
Go Noles.
Yeah, actually, we've got up to $7,000 and the Knowles are ahead by 1,000.
So
Yeah, yeah,
everybody show up at 6 o'clock
that's it.
for the baseball game and bring your checkbook
That's it.
because we will accept checks. Right, David?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Wendy?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
The first item is a report on building services waived fees, and you do have a spreadsheet in your packet. And we have a comparison from the time frame. It should look like,
Page 15 in your special meeting section.
In the.
Special meeting. Keep going. There it is.
okay, so the time frame for both 2020 and 2021 is from January 27th through March 31st. So the number of permits issued in 2020 was 45, and we have 26 of them in 2021. The estimated building valuation for 2020 is $4,189,102. And for 2021, it's $4,118,244. And then there's some considerations of why, each one would be the amount it is. Construction costs have increased. Sometimes applicants underestimate the values compared to the state average. So it's going to look a little different. The value of permits for 2020 was $35,511, And for 2021, it's 38,046. And then to date, as of March 31st, the amount of exempted permits, including building, electrical, mechanical, and plumbing, is $43,436.05.
Okay, are there any questions? The only comment I have is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Bay.
Well, the estimate on 2021 is only, or is that the estimate of 26?
26, the value, obviously, the value of the buildings being constructed has gone up.
Right, but then the estimated value of the permits is gonna be more than what 2020 was with,
Well,
How?
and it just depends, because the value of the permits includes new residences, additions, alterations. It includes a SHIP program exemptions, and then there were more new builds in 2020 and more alterations in 2021. So your value of your permits is going to be different.
And when does this expire? We set it for 6 months?
Yes, sir, through July 27th of this year.
what is actual in 2021?
I don't understand. I'm sorry.
Okay, when did we do this?
It's January
January
27th through July 27th.
Okay.
So we,
Right,
We
but,
did it for 6 months.
but we've only done it for 3 months.
Mhm.
So what is the value that we would have collected on permits if we were collecting them?
$43,436.05. It's the bottom line there.
In 3 months?
Residential fees
On
exempt-
26
exempt.
buildings.
In 3 months, and then in 2020, we collected 35,000
On 45.
on 45.
We didn't change the fees, did we?
No, sir, but the construction costs are going up, and it just depends on the difference
square footage price.
in the square footage, whether they're doing new builds or if they're just doing alterations. And then mechanical is going to be different than plumbing, so it just depends on what they're doing.
Well, I think the board needs to make a decision fairly quickly about, do we want to extend this?
Why would we
Why
not?
would we? why-
Well,
why
we've
would-
only got it, we got it expiring in July. Let's go ahead. My
Well, April.
preference is extend it.
Well, Rebecca's about to have me a number on the door. I see you bobbing your head. Mill rate and then half, because we had deductions on our 50%, right? Is that right?
I
Like,
don't know
no.
if we do that much.
Cause we have all the deductions for veterans, disabled veterans, is on our half, the education half doesn't have any deduction, correct? I don't think they have any on the education side, I think they get 100% or 50%. There is some deductions on, which, on the educational side? I thought we absorbed the side on that below, all those deductions. Right, yeah, exactly, but, yeah, excluding.
Mr.
We don't
Chairman.
have to do it today, but we need to think about it. I don't want it to come down to, the
Well,
last
it's
meeting.
benefiting us now. I mean, I think it's doing a really good job. I mean, people, I've got 2 phone calls. Is it now, Miss Wendy, 45 homes was done for the total year of fiscal year 2020?
No, sir, only through January through March, the same time.
Oh, this same time frame. Okay.
Mhm.
So we was actually building more last year than this year so far
At that time.
at that time.
Mhm. Now, summer's coming up and you may see an increase.
Right. I'm just surprised about, maybe it's because maybe it's ticking I don't know.
I was just going to recommend that because we'll be starting our budget process soon, and so that would be really a better indicator of what it's going to take to absorb that totally into the budget, to give us a little more time to see what that number is. I mean, because right now, building department's been self-sustaining. So if you continue that on, just gives us a better feel for how much general revenue it's going to take, if any, to offset the building department's budget.
What was that math again, Miss Rebecca, on the millage, on the figure for 4-1? Right. Clay, you faster than I am.
The whole, well, it would be the 7.84 8, unless we went down.
That rate, the amount.
And just run it on the one.
And that's our
Well, you
amount.
gotta divide your rate
Right.
by 1,000 and then multiply it by that amount.
You asked.
I just don't do a million, 4.1 million just for kicks and giggles.
848.
Yeah, I think it's,
Yeah.
that's what it was. Now, we might have rolled
I
back
think
and it
that's
might have been
right.
a little less, but 7.848
Oh,
or 7.848.
Just to see you shake your head like that.
32,000?
32,000, all right, 32K. All right, so I guess if that's the case, then we've increased possibly our side of the ad valorem tax by 32,000, but we spent 43,000 out of that for the loss on the permit side. Is that correct? Make sense? Yeah, so you got $11,000 deficit if that's the case on our side. But you've actually, for the county as a whole, have increased it more, obviously doubled that almost, because that's just our half, the 32,000.
Yeah.
School board.
School board's getting,
Yeah, so you're getting, yeah, and that's to the point. I mean, you're incentivizing the fact that you're building and the building is just waiving a permit, but you're getting perpetuity on ad valorem.
But how many would have done it, whether we do?
Well, I mean, that-
We don't know.
You don't know.
You don't
I've had
know.
a couple
That's right.
thank me.
Oh, sure.
They were going to use the money to upgrade stuff in their house.
Well, I know all three of us was on board, y'all probably, Miller was y'all involved with, Miller, David might have been too. I just remember, if I remember, the ad valorem on that piece of property before he sold it was sub 5,000 a year for ad valorem. And he dumped somewhere just north of 5 mil in that project, and I think his ad valorem was 54,000 a year.
Right.
So you took a piece of property that was vacant. Now, the argument was for several people that said that, well, he was gonna build there anyway. To me, it's an investment in your county. I mean, you're already paying staff to be here. It's almost like some people tell us to charge to grade roads by the linear foot. I mean, it's a service we provide as a whole. We just absorb it into the budget. But I mean, I like to see the investment with the people getting the waivers simply because they're paying for us to be here anyway. So.
It's set to expire in July right now, Carl?
Yeah, we said for the end of July, yeah, 6 months. from that date.
When are we doing
I can
budget?
bring an update back at the meeting in June, if you
Yeah.
all would like,
All right,
so you can see how much
Do that.
more.
Yeah, that's
see
good.
what's going on. All right. Thank you, Ms. Wendy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next item is requesting your direction on the draft RV ordinance. And we have the ordinance updated in your package. There was just a little bit of an addition in there and a couple of tweaks for some things that weren't considered prior. So if you look at page 2, number 2, we just adjusted the text there to read at or 1 RV per site may be approved as per the limit on the allowable number of RVs on a parcel. And then, Michelle, you kind of had a little bit of a question about the way number 3 was worded.
Yeah, so I'm concerned that people reading this ordinance will make the assumption that they can place up to 5 RVs on a single parcel and go into the code, and that's hard, as a subdivision, that's something other than what I think you're trying to accomplish through this ordinance, which is to allow one individual owner of real property to set up an RV as a permanent residence on that property that they own and not allow other RVs to set up there. If I misunderstood that, let me know.
Okay.
I wasn't quite sure where that had come from, You may want to restate what you want to be so that I can.
Okay, I tell you what. We've looked at this thing several times. So I want to make sure that when we finish today, we all understand where we're at and where we're going. So I have looked at this and gone through it and marked it up. And I'd like to take it line by line, starting, skip the first page, top of the second page, go to page 26, which says section 74, minimum lot size required. My recommendation to the board is it should read, use of RVs for residential purposes is discouraged but not prohibited, period. Do I hear any comments? Don't
Page
leave me out.
3, where you at?
I am
Two.
on,
Page 2, but 26.
Okay, I see it now, 226, okay, I got it.
You right? Yes.
yeah, the first, skip the first part because that's just legalese from the state. Under section 74, XXX, minimum lot size required. Use of RVs for residential purposes is discouraged but not prohibited, period.
So what we're saying there is if it's less than a half acre in size, they are still allowed to put an RV on there.
No. Yes, you can do it. You're right. We're
Corporate
striking, following up, we're going to strike the next paragraph.
Okay, which one?
See it?
Temporary.
No, use of an RV for residential purposes, a lot less than, I say strike that.
So anytime anybody wants to put a RV on a lot size less than 1/2 acre, it's discouraged, but it's not prohibited. But they have to approach us and get a special exception to do that. Is that what I'm reading?
That is further down. I'll address that when I get
So
to it.
you're at the number underneath section 74, you're under the use of RV.
Minimum lot size.
Minimum lot size.
Okay.
But you don't want any lot restriction.
No, that's where I'm at. What do y'all say?
Again, that would, in order to be approved, it'll come to us. If it's
No.
less than a half acre. No?
No.
Oh, you're saying to take all that out.
Right.
But we hadn't got that far, right?
No, I did the first line, put a period behind prohibited.
But the next.
Strike the next one.
Yeah, because it only deals with approving.
Oh, okay.
Strike it. Get rid of it.
Okay.
That's my recommendation, y'all. If you don't like what I'm
I'm fine with that.
saying, tell me.
No, I don't.
So we put a period after, on the first sentence, we're putting a period after discouraged?
No, but not prohibited, behind prohibited.
I got you.
Let me,
I got you.
can I ask the question, why less than a half acre size? What's the deal with that?
The significance of that is that they're probably not gonna be able to get a well or septic anyway. So I mean, I don't know that it really matters for y'all to approve that or not. That's why that was in there, is because well and septics generally, and they're not here, I don't think.
75 foot apart.
Yeah, but if
75.
you're going to dump into the existing septic tank, who cares?
Yeah, if you already got one there, all I'm saying, that's where, you asked where it generated from.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
originated
Well,
that.
The title says minimum lot size required. So that if you take all that out, it would kind of change that section as well.
That's correct. So you would have to change it.
Yes, sir. Do you have a recommendation?
On minimum lot size?
Well, we can,
Mhm.
We would start the whole section with use of RVs for residential purposes is discouraged but not prohibited. That's a
Right.
opening statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would move that to the
Top,
top.
okay.
and then
Okay.
strike it.
all right. Any comments, any
Require
questions?
special exception from the board.
Nope.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I don't want to, I don't think we
We're
want to
still
bottleneck
going down
ourselves.
through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was saying take out paragraph 2.
Use of the RV for resident. Okay. Next,
So in other words, just so again, so I can understand this, so there is no minimum lot size, as long as they can get an RV on there and get a septic tank and a well on a vacant piece of property, they can put it there.
Right,
That's the intent of what we're saying.
yeah. Which, if they go to the health department and they can't get the septic tanks separated far enough, they ain't gonna let them do it anyway. It's, that's the state, not us. All right. Habitation or occupancy. The habitation or occupancy of a recreational vehicle is allowed, period. I don't think we need that temporary or permanent basis. To me, that's a paradox.
Yeah.
So was the thought behind that is the temporary is in cases where people, they come in, they have a 1 acre piece of property in Ag 2, which is governed by the comp plan to allow 1 dwelling unit. They come in, they want to get a temporary hookup for their well and septic while they build the permanent structure. They cannot, by the comp plan, have 2 units there. So that's where you would use your temporary allowance. Okay, we're going to let you hook in while you build your house because we want to allow that. I actually think that's really reasonable. But we want them to disconnect because they would be in violation of your comp plan if they stay connected.
But we're going to change that too.
Well, but currently today, that's what's allowed.
Well, we'll issue some directions on that.
So at the same time, if you have a 2 acre parcel that could have 2, then they can apply for a permanent. They can have their RV and their house. Just a different process. You're just trying to make sure you're not contradicting your comp plan is the point of that.
But we can change the comp plan, right?
You can change your comp plan,
Okay.
but to change Ag 2, which is the most lenient land use in the entire state of Florida as it stands today, would be a major deal through DEO to get that accomplished. Nowhere else in the state has what we have with Ag 1 allowing 1-to-1 dwelling. I think like 60% of our county is 1-to-1 county. I mean, 1-to-1 dwelling. So we have an extremely lenient comp plan right now is what I'm saying. So to change that to allow more than 1 per acre is just, I mean, that's it's doable, but that's a lengthy process.
So real quick, Mr. Chairman, so the gentleman that you've been dealing with, or I think helped over on Harmon Road, the gentleman that got stuck in the 1990 BS that he cannot even build a house, but on 1 per 8 acres.
No, yeah.
You
Oh,
remember
no,
that?
the 1 per 20.
1 per 20,
1 per
excuse me,
20.
1 per 20. Where in the trap did that get? Where's that? Why can't we change that?
Well, y'all did, I think. So that's
gave him a
that's
variance.
well,
Yeah,
no
we gave him
variance. You
variance.
did a map amendment to change it to
Okay.
Ag 2, I believe. So, I mean, land use planning is a funny thing. You look back and say, well, how did this or why did that? Because things change. But the reason why most of your Ag 1 is the way it is, which is 1 per 20, was to preserve your timberland. So in 1990, they looked at where in the county are things now, what do we want to preserve? And one of those was timber back then. We wanted to preserve that. And so they went in and they identified these areas already in timber. We want to make sure we preserve that. So that's how that came about. But there are some anomalies that come up where, for whatever reason, someone got grouped into something. And so we addressed that through a small scale map amendment. That's no big deal. It shoots through the process. To do a text amendment to change your entire way you do your future land use map, that's called a major amendment. Totally different process. Can be done, but it's not something that's an overnight thing. That's all. That's about the
Yes,
map.
sir.
The government decided we were gonna protect these timber things that I own, and I chose to have that timber there. But you're gonna tell me what I can do with it.
Well, I think if I'm mistaken, to your.
Does that make sense? Sorry?
Yeah.
Very simple.
Well, I think Miss June was on that board in 1990, if I remember right.
I don't know.
I think she was either part of it or part of that plan anyway. There was also a consensus that maybe it would try to get people to migrate towards more public utilities.
Oh,
Water section.
that was definitely a part of it. And in 1990, from my understanding, this was a whole statewide initiative. It was a big deal. This was not a Jackson County thing, but Jackson County held out for the one-to-one designation because they were trying to make it even larger throughout the state. Most counties have a minimum of 1 to 5 acres is the majority of what theirs are. So I just didn't want us to lose sight of that it's a big deal that we have what we have. And I would hate to take up a fight that lands somewhere we didn't want to go when we have the best in the state as far as like property rights. It's just a fact. Mike Crutchfield, Jan Powler, they could
Jan.
tell y'all the history on that.
That's what I meant.
So that was all I was saying.
We might need to know.
Hmm.
I said we might need to know.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we don't.
All right. Well,
What page you on, what paragraph page? You're on page 2?
I'm
on
still moving.
Habitat.
Well, I didn't want to distract y'all from the temporary or permanent. I just wanted to explain the thought behind that.
I just,
We can separate that language, that the habitation or occupancy of recreational vehicle is allowed on a permanent basis, subject to these rules, on a temporary basis, subject to these rules. Because ideally, someone who's coming in and only gonna need their RV on a temporary basis, you want them to do, come in, get double permit, hook up, and go on. And somebody who's coming in and wants to reside on a permanent basis, that's where we get really down into the ordinance, that's where we get into, okay, what are we gonna do when we talk
That's-
about, what are we looking for on a permanent basis? What are we looking for these folks to have to, comply with?
well, the other part of that, and like I said earlier, that's a paradox, temporary or permanent, doesn't make sense to me. And then it says, basis subject to the process required for a new residential unit approval of a residential development order and appropriate building permits. Do we require building permits for mobile homes?
Yes. And this is where we're really having a breakdown with trying to craft regulations that can meet the board's objectives, but also comply with board law. And so this is where we're getting into a real disconnect between what you, I think, want to accomplish and what we can probably accomplish based on the current state of the law. So there is some expectation, I found this in the tax statute. There's a process for abandoning an RV title, just like you would a mobile home. You take a mobile home, you don't have to get that annual sticker every year. The mobile home is registered like a vehicle, you gotta get a little sticker just like you do on your tax. And you don't
Supposed
wanna
to.
do that, or your mortgage requires you, to abandon it, retire the title. There's a process to do that. Well, there's a similar contemplation for that for RVs. But that's as far as we get. So we have this language that says, there's some expectation that people may be able to retire titles to RVs and have them assessed as real property, just like a mobile home. But there isn't any corresponding building code. There's nothing that tells us how you tie down an RV, how you actually, like the language is identical, it says, affixed to a permanent foundation. We don't know how you do that. Your building inspector doesn't know how you do that. It's not in the building code. There's nothing out there that tells us how do we actually go about, accomplishing this thing that might be theoretically possible under the law.
So what do you require of a
Honestly,
for building permits for a mobile home? What do they do?
So we permit only the exterior and then electrical. So they may need a power pole, they may be required to have skirting on the outside, the tie downs, the plumbing, basically.
tie downs is what's really getting me, because I
There-
don't know how you permit that process, and there are no rules for that.
Well, can I add
Well,
something to that, Mr. Chairman?
I don't think they're designed to be tied down.
Yeah, show me a tie down on RV,
That's what I'm saying.
and show me a tie down on a fifth wheel.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. But you're kind of asking us, and you're asking your planning department to look at RVs the same way that they would look at mobile homes, and we can't do it.
I haven't said that.
Okay, that's in the understanding that you want
No.
people to have the ability to live in these RVs the same way that they
You're talking
live
about
in
from
a mobile home.
occupying standpoint.
And that's because RVs and fifth wheels are not really designed to be lived in on a permanent basis.
They're not. And as an industry, they have lobbied heavily to
get out from under any kind of HUD oversight. They're not regulated, and they were successful. They're not regulated in any way, shape, or form the same way that you know, even a tiny house that, you know, complies with HUD regulations would be. They're not the same. But we're kind of having to follow that same trajectory when you're asking us to look at how do you go about approving something like this as a permanent structure, a permanent residence.
Well, the problem you've got is you've got a lot of people who live in these things. Okay? And you got to people, most of those people can't afford a big mobile home. I don't know what mobile homes cost now, but I would imagine you can spend $70,000-$80,000 on a halfway decent mobile home. You can spend that on one of these
I
RVs,
get a friend just bought one, $80,000.
mobile home,
No,
RV.
RV.
What's the difference in me putting it on my land and living in it, or going to the RV park and living in it?
No
It's
different.
safer at the RV park.
You're not tied down. That's the problem. You make a great-
That's where I was fixing to go, Scotty.
I think the waste comes in as well.
But if we fix that, what is the difference?
Well, the problem, what we had as a board, and all of us, I think, has been part of that process at some point, is the simple fact, when we get tornado warnings and we got
Yeah.
hurricanes coming, you've got all of a sudden, again, the shelters are very limited. Only one in our county is obviously the Mariana High School, East Wing, Mariana High School.
Yes,
And
sir.
then all of a sudden you got Dove, you got the RV park there at Airhead, you got Dove, one down here,
Yeah.
you got one behind Sunny's now. So if you do the mathematics on that, it would exceed probably what we would with our thing, and that was a
I
problem.
think we allow 1,064 at the Mariana.
1,064.
And with COVID, it's 603.
Well,
Well, let's don't have no hurricane during
During COVID.
yeah, no
Well, hey,
hurricanes.
can we
well,
do
Like
that?
laying upstairs.
We'll make
no
that a rule.
defense, no. But my point is that's just it. We've had to call, emergency and declare states of emergency with Rodney before, knowing that these people were staying in them, obviously traveling through and or living out. I mean, I've had friends that their parents had RVs there at permanent bases for decades. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, they paid a monthly rent. They lived in Sneed and they come on the weekends every weekend, but it was never tied down. So it's a liability from a wind load. And
Do most of the people that stay in the RV parks, they're renting on a monthly basis or yearly basis or basis?
yeah, I don't know here locally, but a lot of the people now, the KOAs, the big RV places, they bounce, they follow their trail, so to speak, and get it. I don't know enough about that, but
All right,
all right, let's move. What page?
I'm still on the same one.
We got a lot of red ink over there.
I do. I don't think we, excuse me. I think I need some water. So we don't want to make them like mobile homes.
Not from an inhabitable standpoint, right? Is that what you're saying?
Do you want to allow people to reside in RVs on a permanent basis?
I do not.
I do.
Yeah.
And the reason I do is because we got a lot of people doing that. And that's the only home they have. Then you get into, what about grandmother that's coming to stay because she's sick? There are a lot of issues with precluding people from living in these.
Permanent basis. But they can do that on a temporary basis.
You gonna
Well, if grandma
leave-
comes and
make grandma leave?
grandma lives 10 years, what's temporary?
I mean, exactly. What is temporary? I mean, what is it now? 6
So
months?
actually, currently, we don't allow RVs except in approved RV lots or RV parks.
And also that hadn't been enforced, but not on purpose, but I don't know that I'd want to be a code enforcement, try to enforce that. I would.
So it's prevalent.
I mean, you have
You
a
ain't gonna
segment,
tell me.
I mean, that's almost like telling the agriculture, you can't drive tractor down the highway. I mean, that's part of our DNA. I mean, it is. I mean, like or hate it, it's part of our DNA here. I mean, hunting camps, everything. I mean, again, I'm saying permanently, but there's, part of the.
On this particular paragraph, habitation, I just say the habitation or occupancy of a recreational vehicle is allowed, period. Since we don't know how we want to handle them, I don't know that we need that other sentence in there. We can't treat them as mobile homes. We can't tie them down. So, and then the next sentence, storage of a personal recreational vehicle on residentially developed property is not prohibited. Leave that.
Do you mean Commissioner, Pate can keep an RV on his property? Is that what you're saying?
It's not prohibited.
Oh, it's
Not-
not,
you-
not prohibited.
you
Okay, I
can.
thought, okay.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
all right.
The next paragraph says approval of a recreational vehicle as a permanent residence is subject to the same regulations that would be required of other residential dwelling. Well, that's not true.
I mean, how do you even do that?
That,
That's what they,
That's the
Staff and
paragraph.
I have struggled with trying to craft this language for you because I feel like you asked us to try to accomplish this. Like the only way that we know of to approve RVs as a permanent residence is to regulate them the way that we regulate other things that are in existence now. So there is a disconnect here because we don't know of any other way to allow them.
We'll have no ordinance that says they can't do it. I mean, just don't regulate it.
But
Is there a state law?
Florida statute
Say
does, I think you might have in your packets, 193.075.
Yeah, I see.
And if you look at number 3, when it talks about the RV being taxed as real property, if the RV is also the owner of the land, then it shall be considered permanently affixed if it is connected to the normal and usual utilities, and if it is tied down, or it is attached or affixed in such a way that it cannot be removed without material or substantial damage to the recreational vehicle. So that's what's making it a little bit hard.
But my understanding is structurally, they're not designed to be tied down.
How do you do that? You take a strap?
What about
I
yours?
was wondering what to do with mine when the hurricane come. I thought about going and getting me something tied off to the barn. I don't know, But the barn
Park it
about
on the
blew
slab and
down, but
put a strap over the axle and,
the
redhead it
barn
down to
about
the-
blew down, but the RV set right there didn't move. I mean,
found
there's the barn.
another community statewide that expressly allows RVs as permanent residences. I couldn't find any, regulations to help here. I couldn't find any community that was, what I did find was some communities that don't really regulate.
Enforce it. Yeah.
There's a permit, you have to show that you've got power and that you have water and disposal of sewage. And that's it.
What community is that? Then why don't we just do that?
Well, they don't, it's not on a permanent basis. It's just, you can go in and connect on this and then they're not enforcing on the backside.
Well, with our regulations, we set people up and just do it without saying.
Well, this one, doesn't make sense to me because you can't regulate it as as you would any other residential dwelling. I mean, you don't have to dig a foundation for an RV, and there's a lot of things you do with, a residential dwelling so I don't know that we need that in there. But y'all tell me.
Again, I'm just expressing my own personal opinion. I think we ought to allow them, but I think only on a temporary basis. And if it means that every year they've got to come in and get permitted to stay in it for another year, that may be enough of an encouragement to try to help them get out of that and get into something more permanent. But
So just say once a year we develop a plan, they come in and pay $10 and get another year. I mean, is that kind of your?
Well, that's it. You have people come in and basically apply for a hardship
There you go.
exemption to your code that prohibits them from living in that. And what he's saying is that you could extend that every year indefinitely.
Okay.
That's
Mr. Birch?
That's what a lot of communities do.
And I'm coming in a little late in this, and maybe this has already been asked, but are they able to get an address, physical address?
Yes.
How would
Yeah, they can get an address for any vacant lot, so if it's structural, they can get it on the lot. A good question, though.
Because at that point in time, they would be required to have electrical, they would require to have a means of disposal of the waste, and they would have to have water. But they would not necessarily need to be tied down at that point if it was temporary. Because there is no way to really tie those down.
On a GIS mapping structure.
Give you an idea of how many people live in them if you did have.
Yeah.
And you don't want people to put in my air without that tank start up there on the drain.
Yeah, we don't want that.
All right, so that paragraph about approval of a recreation of the permanent residence subject to same regulations, I don't like that. So what do y'all want to do?
Where you at?
Right there,
Okay.
under minimum lot size. It's not subject to the same requirements as other residential dwelling, unless I'm reading wrong.
Do you want to put any conditions on the use?
They want to come in and get, and just broadly, again, speaking, if they come in and get a hardship, whether you want to term it, once a year, and I wouldn't pose a fee as long as they fill out a piece of paper and hand it for documentation. That would be, you could, file that.
Well, another thing that could do, do you mind if I jump ahead, Clay? Is it actually would provide an opportunity for community development to connect these people with the SHIP program and other housing opportunities, if it is indeed a true hardship, and help identify resources for them.
Y'all tell us it's a hardship, and I see them out there in my district. I got a lot
But
of them.
all of them are not hardship. You got two people that say, we don't want a house, we want to live in a RV. Some of them nicer than the trailers. I mean.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead,
why-
Clay.
From the outside looking in, you guys got the hard decision. What you're doing, I like the idea of the annual, come in annually, that Mr. Donofrio said, because one, you're putting them on a record of some type. Whereas now, we don't know how many is out there. I think that's what maybe Mr. Taylor said. So you're getting them on a list. Is that gonna be more trouble for the department? Yeah, probably. But you're getting them on a list, so you'll know. But what y'all are doing with these regulations, and hear me out, I'm not, again, y'all got your reasons, I understand that, is you're making them make a business decision. I can go buy a small mobile home that I've got to get tied down. I put on the property records. There's notice that Ms. Rebecca's gonna go around and check on it for the value. And you're making them jump through a bunch of hoops, and it's gonna cost more money. Or I can go buy a $40,000 motorhome, stick out there. There's nobody checking on it. I've already got a pole and a sewer system, so I can hook up. So technically, hold on, technically, I am complying to it. So then she's got to, you're putting your people in a bad, that they have to make a decision. Well, is that a legal one or is that an illegal one? Is that something we need to check on or is that not? I think you gotta have some guidelines, and I get what y'all are coming from. If I had 40 acres up here that I came up here 7 times a year to go hunting on or hunting and fishing, and I wanted to set me up a mobile home so I'd have something, run power to it, electricity, maybe you can get cable, if there's cable access, get that. I get what y'all are trying to do, but I just think that you're kind of setting your people up for failure.
Well, the only thing I'd say about the hardship thing is that, of course, instinctively, people don't want the government into their freaking business, for a better word. You don't come out there, so they probably never will come up here. They won't come out here because Miss Rebecca's gonna send her people out to assess that as she's required to. If you don't have knowledge of it, you'll be required to, correct?
That's right.
But them people are gonna be saying, I don't want to even go that process. I don't know.
If I had 40 acres, I'd get.
I've never got,
trees.
would never
You'd
be
never
for
see
me.
it.
Rebecca, I got a question for you.
They look like some.
Put them on record though.
Uh,
But not tell
I've
me.
been sitting there too long. So you have people that go out throughout the county because I see them riding around my house.
I seen them at my house one time.
They're circling gyms.
Yeah. Stay at gym.
So they're riding around. So if they spot one of these RVs, can they look at it and maybe do an appraisal if necessary? Why?
Well, number
Don't be
one,
distracted.
we don't know who owns the mobile home or the RV,
Right.
okay?
Who owns the land?
Eric has come in and put an RV on my property that I have over south of Sneed's for hunting.
This is all hypothetical now.
Yeah. I don't know, 40 acres.
So you need to be taxed.
But you need to be taxed as far as that decal goes for that RV. That's where that statute falls into place, to where if that statute states, if he owns that land and he owns that RV or that mobile home, then it's supposed to be assessed. Okay? But RVs are being able to be picked up and moved.
So it's a mobile asset.
Well, then it ain't temperate. I mean, it ain't permanent. But it falls under temporary. So what do we?
But see, if they make it permanently affixed, but who's to say what permanently affixed is? I've seen them where they have taken and bricked them up around the whole thing and started working their way up the side of that RV. Well, if they're gonna move that RV, they're gonna tear it to smithereens to take it out.
So it's permanent.
It's permanent, then. So therefore, it's permanent by that statute. But yet they're not coming in and making it real property. They're probably not buying decals on it too, because nobody knows it's an RV
Well, it ain't
anymore.
going on the road.
No,
So it's taxed.
Right,
And-
but if they were put on the road, they're in a violation of a state.
right,
Because you ain't, no tag assigned, they
right.
don't expire.
And so if a patrol person
Right,
sees it.
which is their
they're
deal,
gonna-
that causes our people not having grief on that aspect.
So whereas we go out there, we look at it, we make a note, well, there's a RV on site. Or there's a mobile home on site. Well, we send them some information. Well, they're not gonna come in because, well, they don't want to, number one, because we don't have anything to enforce.
You
They're
assess them a
coming
tax,
in.
they'll come in.
Well, that's correct, but we can't assess them for that mobile home because we don't know who owns it.
Don't they have VIN numbers on these
But
RVs?
you can't find those
She
VIN numbers.
don't have that stuff.
We don't find that number.
It's on a plate on the tongue of them, and my hand, it don't get to this, like knocked off.
Is that right?
Some of them are taken off.
You see the rednecks out there with side grinders.
So, I mean, you don't know who owns it. Now, the ones that own that mobile home or own that RV that want to be right and come in and apply for what they're supposed to get as the real property decal, so we can assess it. Well, they may live in it, and if you live in it permanently, you could get homestead on it. Then we're into value of an RV. Well, that value of an RV, as we know, RVs now are ranging anywhere from here to $100,000 and $200,000, because I just went and looked at some, hadn't bought nothing because I can't afford it.
Huh?
So you don't know what the value is going to be because you don't know what the interior of that RV is, the same as you do not know the interior of a mobile home unless that person comes in and tells me what is inside. And we want to RP it so that we can claim homestead on it. Then, depending on that value as to how much that homestead's gonna cover it. If that homestead's gonna cover it, if it's $50,000 or more, y'all are not gonna get anything. You're gonna, I mean, if it's over the 50, you're get it, but if it's under, you're not. So if it comes in at 25,200, you're not gonna get $200 worth of assessment on that parcel. You're not gonna get nothing on taxes.
All right. We're going nowhere fast.
And commissioners, I'd just like to share with you, just this past week, I've already received 4 complaints of people living in RVs, but the main concern would be the septic. And so I've been working with environmental health on those issues. And then a lot of times the junk trash and debris will come along because they don't have storage. So just to share that.
Well, I'm not for letting somebody live in an RV that's not hooked up to some kind of septic
Well, that's
system.
the,
Yeah, I know, that's.
the
all
last
down there, but
paragraph.
Yeah,
and it says, a recreational vehicle being used as a permanent resident must be connected to a private residential septic tank and private well or county incinerator. I think we need to change that to say an approved waste disposal system. Because they do have composting and other things now.
Okay, so we have to define that then in ordinance. If you're gonna say approved
Approved.
waste disposal, then we have to define what that is.
what's the state's definition?
They call them environmental.
If they're allowed,
Well,
they gotta have it somewhere, right?
He's talking about people living off the grid.
Yeah, but he said approved.
Yeah, I mean, you've got composting systems and everything.
That's the thing, how are your staff supposed to know what you mean when you say approved? We need a list of things that you find acceptable.
Bring me a list and I'll tell you which ones work.
Couldn't it just
We
say
know
approved
septic tanks
by
work.
environmental health, as approved by environmental health department?
I don't know how they can.
They're going to
You
have
would think
to,
they would know.
they ought to know what is an
It's
approved.
allowed by the state, they are the state.
Because I know you got these RV parks, people's got composters on them.
Do they allow y'all to allow people to build and use composting?
Well, my point was to not get into that detail at all, but whatever environmental health would approve for a residential, whatever, that, not get into the specifics, because really that could evolve. I mean, environmental health could permit new things in the future.
There are a lot of things coming online
I think that's what
for disposal of waste.
Chairman
What about a
Peacock saying.
What about approved,
Cat litter.
huh?
Cat litter.
Don't be
Approved
laughing,
allowed
it may be here before you
Well,
know
they're
it.
there, that's what the earth ones
Procedures
are.
allowed by the state,
And whatever's approved by
pass that to them.
Department of Health regulations, yeah.
That's fine, change
Approved
it,
Department of Health regulations.
yeah.
So when John Smith goes out to an RV that's, well, I guess you'd have to define it whether it's staying temporary.
Well, they have to get that thing from the
Or
health department.
You just need some type of an approved waste disposal system.
Apply for an innovative permit from the Department of Health. Department of Health approves it, they'll give them back for it.
There you go.
Temporary residence on the next page. It says temporary use of a recreational vehicle as a residence while a permanent residence is under construction is allowable with a connection to the permanent residence septic tank. However, a certificate of occupancy will not be issued unless the temporary connection for the recreational vehicle is removed. Why? I've asked this question.
Yes, that's because of the one residence per acre or whatever's allowed. And they have to disconnect if it's temporary in order for the home to get the CO, the final approval and all that.
Plus, it's not allowed by Jackson County to live in only on that temporary basis.
Well, this
No,
would
we've
just
changed
be,
it.
No,
This
I'm
would
talking
just
about,
be in
that
the-
would come out since we changed it.
Yeah,
this would just be in the new ordinance.
Yeah.
If you adopt this overall.
so I would, after resident septic tank, I'd put a period. I would would strike that last paragraph completely.
I think you have to leave that in because of your comp plan.
Well, we're changing that. If we're doing what we're doing here, right?
You're changing the ordinance.
Whatever it takes.
Are you gonna amend the comp plan?
Whatever it
in
takes
there.
to make it
Whatever it
work.
takes to make it allowed.
We messed with this thing for two
So
and a half
this
years that
to-
I've been fooling
To
with it.
allow, an RV in any form, whatever it is y'all decide, doesn't require anything with the comp plan.
Okay.
All this is talking about is it's really multifold, but one is like what I gave y'all earlier, and I won't say that again. You have it tied in for temporary until you get your house built. You disconnect them, but that's really for more than one reason. One, the land use may not allow more than one resident, and two, it becomes really more of an environmental health issue of limitations on how many things you can have tied into septic and that sort of thing. And I don't know those regulations. I'm just saying that's from two different angles. But the main one we would be interested in is ensuring that we don't have more than one dwelling on an acre in that case.
So it's just like the people on Lovedale Road, we gave them a variance this morning.
Well,
Because the children are living in the house. The mother, I think, has cancer.
so in that case, you would give a permanent, in this ordinance, as it stands right now, you would give a permanent. We're not saying it's just a one or the other. Oh, you need a temporary one because you just want to build your house. Here's your temporary. Oh, you need a permanent because you have an elderly mother. Here's your permanent. It
But
meets the
most
regulation.
times when you build a house, septic tank's one of the last things to go in. But you don't want that septic tank there and you moving around with equipment or whatever and crush it and fall in. So most contractors or most people, septic tank will be the last thing to go. But I don't understand the disconnecting, but that's my thoughts. I don't know. Am I the only one thinking?
Fill up to a certain thing, have pressure and all that, so, I mean, they keep the hose running there, but you see it hard pipe all the time, and I think, man, they just got that valve open, they just put it.
All right. What else?
It is in here somewhere that it's not, RVs are not allowed in
Platted subdivisions.
Yeah.
platted subdivisions.
Yeah.
Correct. That is, let's see, number 6 on page 3.
All right. So what do y'all want to do?
The other thing that we need to address is whether you want to put any restrictions on the individual owner use of an RV on their property versus renting the property out. So, you want to put a cap on it, that only owners of property can put their own RVs on their own property permanently.
Yeah, I don't know, you shouldn't,
It shouldn't be a mobile home park.
yeah,
Well,
It shouldn't be rental property.
yeah, it shouldn't be rental property.
there are all kinds of companies that are out here that will happily rent your lot out. This is something that is really becoming an issue in Gulf County.
Like Airbnb said for RVs.
I forget what there's one now.
Yeah,
It's
we
just
shouldn't
RV.
allow that.
It's
I don't
getting to
think
be a big thing and it's gonna continue to grow. And when we get into allowing rentals, then we get into a whole mess of things about taxes and your
Red tax.
yes, the DC stuff.
Okay. No, I would not be in favor of them renting it out as a commercial business. I would be in favor of, I mean, if the father or mother, somebody owns it and the daughter, family wants to live in it, I don't have a problem with that. But it's not to be rented out.
So Gulf County allows to live in an RV?
No, they don't expressly allow it.
They just don't enforce it.
Stop it.
Okay.
That's different.
All right.
But do
So-
we want to do like a yearly permit to live in that? Where
I
everybody
don't
knows
think-
where they're at?
I think you
I mean, I don't know. It's
you
gonna
can put
happen.
it in there, but they're not coming in. It's just like Rebecca said. Why would they?
Well, I know.
If I go up there, they're gonna know where I'm at. I don't come up, you're not gonna find me. I mean, you can put it in, but I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's every case, such
But
case
it
by case basis,
covers-
you know.
Well, you can put it in.
Wouldn't it, like Clay was saying, it would kind of cover us more than we,
The honest people will come in,
oh,
the
yeah.
dishonest ones
Yeah.
won't.
But at least if the ones that are honest that came in, you have a record of it, so you can say, I'm gonna leave Mr. Peacock alone, but I'm going out, and Eric's gone, so I'm gonna pick on him.
Yeah.
I'm going after Eric because he didn't come in. Whereas now, they have no.
They have nothing.
Well, they gonna need a driveway permit possibly to get to their RV.
Are you kidding me?
I know, but Scotty and them,
Scotty,
Scotty
they
and
ain't
them
gonna-
gonna see it. They better.
They gonna drive.
That
right
road
through the
superintendent
village.
should say, well, I know they will, but some of them can't.
It ain't worth it. I have no objection to putting that in.
I mean,
Just
I don't know.
tell Michelle what you're thinking.
Well, I was just kind of, would that take some of the,
If you're going to be
I wanna say it.
living in a RV in Jackson County, annually, you need to come in and apply for what, Rebecca? A permit?
Well, they would do that through us.
I don't know.
they would do everything else through y'all.
We've got two different things. It might be a permit for the county's use, and her issue, which is that they come in and they retire the title, so they get the little RP sticker on it, so that she can then assess it as real property. It's two totally different things.
Well, that's what we just said. when we left. I have no problem putting it in there, that, you know, require people to come in or require them to come in, but they ain't coming in.
Well, okay, so let's walk just a little further down that path then. Are you gonna enforce this code against people that don't come in and get their stickers?
Who's gonna enforce it?
You have a code enforcement officer?
Not
No, we
more.
don't.
Do you have the position available? Yes, the position exists, so that's who would enforce it.
We've been handing out variances every week. Every board meeting, you'll be handing out variances.
All right. So are you going to take these changes and try to make it look decent?
I'll be honest,
Make me look smart?
I'm still not clear on the consensus of the board about where this.
Let me make my consensus very clear. I am opposed to RVs being used as permanent residences. I think we ought to, I don't mind people living them on a temporary basis, even if that temporary basis is as much as a year. But I just think that we're opening up a can of worms to allow them to be used by permanent residents. Just my own thinking.
All right.
I'm for allowing them.
All right, do I hear a motion? We'll get this settled once and for all.
What do you want the motion?
I want the motion to be whether or not we're going to allow people to live in,
I'll make
RV.
that motion to allow people to live in RVs.
is there a second? Got a motion by Commissioner Pate
Permanent.
and second by Commissioner Hill. All right, any questions? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, raise your right hand. Okay, 3-2. Motion carries. All right,
And now you're going to take the notes and the comments and basically put together a draft ordinance to try to encompass as much of that as possible.
Yeah.
when you get it done, if you will get it to Ms. Daniels or get it to me, I'll take a look at it. And then we can go from there.
See that.
All right,
I'll-
are we finished with that?
if I could just add so that we have managed expectations. So once they get that draft ordinance, it still has to go through 2 public hearings. So the planning commission and then the board.
Right,
So just making sure we all don't forget
Okay.
the public hearing process.
all right. Is that all we have?
Can
Didn't you pull the last?
can I ask you a question?
Sure.
This morning, we voted to give a variance,
Mhm.
okay? And the planning commission approved it, right?
Yes, because it was a health and safety matter.
That's why I said case by case basis,
Mhm.
you know.
Well, but then you're
Might-
doing
you know,
each one up here.
And they'll be coming in and talking to planning and probably put in a development order. Then once that's approved, it'll go to environmental health and buildings so they can get proper septic, water, and power if they need it pulled, or, whatever they need to do as far as that.
Okay. Ms. Wendy, you're next.
Yes, sir. Okay, so, as per your recommendation for the landscape ordinance requirements, Michelle was instructed to, get some more information for you all. So, currently, the existing comp plan, because we have that in place, at this time, we can only adjust the codes and ordinances for aesthetics or appearance. And Michelle's recommending that we have a planning consultant to evaluate the existing land development regulation conditions and also for the buffering for preserving the natural resources. As proposed, we would have to make it highly recommended, we would have to do a text amendment to the comp plan to change that. And so I did a little chart, which is underneath that current and proposed. But the summation is that it could take a minimum of 7 months before final state approval is granted, plus an additional 31 days if not challenged. Now, that's in a perfect world. That's if we have 2 board meetings per month, and that's if, things don't get tabled and things like that. But that time frame doesn't include any workshops or public hearings as per Florida statute. And we have 30 days after the local government adopts the plan amendment for a person to file a petition with the Division of Administrative Hearings challenging the plan amendment. And then within 30 days after receipt of a complete adopted plan amendment package, the state land planning agency reviews the adopted plan amendment, and they can file a challenge to the amendment with the Division of Administrative Hearings. If no challenge is filed, the amendment becomes effective 31 days after the state land planning agency notifies the local government that the amendment package is complete. If a challenge is filed, the amendment becomes effective after issuance of a final order by the state land planning agency. And then you have to do your ordinance to change all that.
What we wanted to do, is it legal to do?
Yes, sir, we have to change the comp plan,
No,
though. If the
is it
state,
legal to do? I mean, we can do it, right?
Well, I think you're gonna run into an issue with the state. I honestly do, because the state legislature has mandated that counties adopt comprehensive plans that address very specific things. And landscaping is a component of, conservation, it's a component of drainage, drainage into bodies of water, into the aquifer. It's a component of your, consistencies in your use. I think you probably need to distinguish what parts of your landscaping regulations that you find offensive, because landscaping regulations that deal with buffering or deal with drainage or deal with conservation, prohibitions on invasive species, those kinds of things, those are mandated by your comp plan. And like that's that's, when I say mandated, I mean that the legislature
Sure,
has
Lon.
required that your comp plan address these areas.
But we didn't, well, buffering, we didn't touch buffer.
We basically said that landscaping landscaping regulations were not gonna be mandatory, going to be voluntary, which basically says we don't have a landscaping ordinance to me.
Uh,
That's basically what we said. I
I-
mean, that's,
Buffering is in there, right? So we didn't address the buffering. And what's the difference in trees and grass?
correct me if I'm wrong,
That's
didn't we?
why I think you're gonna need a planning consultant in here to really identify.
But-
Let me
Yeah.
ask a question real quick.
Go ahead,
It's like we're
Commissioner
fighting
Hill.
y'all.
This is my thing. We have X number of businesses. I don't know how many there are in this county. 1,200 plus? How many is on
Businesses?
businesses in this county? How many do y'all know?
Not that
I
many.
think on the chamber, like maybe, give or take, whatever.
Just on the thing.
And we're regulating the smallest. We don't regulate buffering, grass, landscape on any homes, which is the mass part of the counties, as most counties residency. Wouldn't that not be the bigger impact of we're regulating businesses that represent a small percentage of our grounds or geographical locations, but we don't do the homes. And that's what's always been confusing to me. And I deal with it every year. We build houses at the beaches, 50 foot, have a palm tree or some type of tree that occupies 50 foot, a 50-gallon bulb, and every 50 foot. And then you got, as I said, and I think in previous board meeting, now people are moving away from that, and Paul probably sees this too, is they're doing away with that because a lot of people that are buying the properties along the beach line are wanting the lava rocks. That's just a new thing. It percolates, so they don't have all that water drainage issues. They don't have to put sprinkler systems in. They don't have to water grass. They don't have all that cost analysis. So the only thing I say about it is, we don't want to ever step that ground on regulating a house to have a house have, so many trees per, linear foot of their outside perimeter of their property, and so many 25-gallon things and 5-gallon buckets of azaleas. I mean, that's the only thing I hesitate when we go to regulate it. We're regulating a business, but not the residents. But yet the residents outnumber the businesses quite 10 or 12 to 1. That's my concern about that. So you're right. It's about a point. It's about conservation. It's about percolation. It's about drainage issues. It's about aesthetics probably more than anything. But we do it on the smallest minority of impact, which is businesses. But yet we don't do it on the biggest one, which is the home.
I just, based on the research that I've done, I think that you can probably address whatever problem that you're having with business development, landscaping regulations through your variance process. They're not, I haven't had any, any particular cases brought to me where a developer just could not work within your existing landscaping regulations. I haven't, I'm not aware of any problems.
Yeah, but we've already voted 4-1. We change it.
What do we specifically do? I thought
We
just
voted
basically-
to change it from mandatory to
The whole
recommended.
thing.
Yep.
That's about the whole, I mean, how
No,
can
not the
you
whole
do that?
thing.
The landscape.
We just basically
That was
said
my
that
understanding, was that the whole, all landscaping provisions were gonna be.
they were gonna be.
No, we said in the
Gonna be
meeting that
volunteer.
did not affect the buffering because you've got to have that.
That's not what I got. I thought I thought the motion was to make complying with the landscape ordinance, every bit of it, voluntary and not mandatory. I don't remember us talking specifically about anything.
We'll just pull the minutes, make sure we get clear. All right.
I just don't know that we can, I'm like Michelle, I just don't know that we can do that and stay in compliance with our
Okay,
comprehensive.
why don't we go back and say, well, we
Well-
don't require them to say so many shrubs and so many trees.
Well, I can tell you, reading that thing is ludicrous to me. I'm gonna tell you, you got to have X number of trees, like shrubs and all this other stuff. And don't tell me you save water. I don't even, when you tell me that, I turn you off. Because conserving water, if you plant a shrub, or you plant a tree, or you plant grass, if you don't water it, you conserve water. But if you try to get it to survive, you're going to waste money on water.
I guess that gets into this.
And they all preach conserve
I
water.
think Eric's
It don't
right.
work.
I don't disagree with you there. I don't know that it's for conservation. Now, they do, most of the comprehensive plans and landscape ordinance preach xeriscaping, which is supposed to not require as much irrigation, but still, it's gonna require.
It's gonna
some
require
I
irrigation.
think it's all about aesthetics and trying to improve the aesthetic
If I'm
environment.
going to build a $20 million building, I'm probably going to put some shrubs and stuff
Well, I
out
mean,
there.
if you're gonna build a small Wendy's, which is not gonna be $20 million, they probably have, whatever their cost is to build that Wendy's out there. They want that building to look good, and they're gonna do landscaping.
That's
with it.
what I think, that's right.
That's
You know,
fine, it's
right.
voluntary.
Yeah.
It is voluntary.
And I like that. I mean, again, you think, that- I mean, I appeal, it's just like I think the franchise Burger King does on purpose. They go into an area, and a friend that owned one, they go into an area and they look at the general direction of the predominant wind to the closest traffic. That's where they buy their property, because when people are sitting at that major intersection and the predominant wind overall with the whole course blows that smoke of that hamburger across the cars into that major intersection, a Whopper now, and that's part of their strategic plan for their franchise. And again, I think every one of them has landscape. I think every one of them should have the right to put whatever they want to. They want to, whatever they want to put.
If you
I mean,
put an
that-
auto mechanic shop, and they're gonna require you to plant shrubs and trees.
I think if it's gonna be within the purview of the public having to look at it,
We're in
I
the county, we're not the city.
well, I mean, but there's a lot of county development that's right next to the city, and,
So that issue can be dealt with by creating districts throughout the county that have their own landscaping requirements. So you wouldn't necessarily need the same requirements for the property that's right up next to the interstate and 71, that exchange versus something that's, 10 miles down the road.
Yeah, just plant grass. Why you gotta tell me I gotta plant a tree or a shrub?
Well, why wouldn't grass, seriously, why would not grass be enough? If the grass handles the
I don't
percolation
know, that's
aspect.
why you need a planning consultant, not a lawyer.
I think it all gets back into, the buffering requirements, and you've said that you want the buffering
Yeah, I
requirements
mean,
to
you
stay. Well,
need,
most of the
you need
buffering
buffer.
requirements,
I mean,
most of the requirements that force you to put a tree in is because of buffering.
Or a fence.
No, they, if you've
how
got
you say that?
10, is it 10 or 15 parking spaces you got to have? 15, you gotta have a tree. It's gotta be so big.
So they ain't buffering nothing.
Well, it's going what kind of tree.
That's just one instance. of it.
Yeah.
But most of the landscape requirements most of the requirements that cause you to plant shrubs or trees are along the buffer.
So the new dollar store on Carriage Road, they put up an 8
No,
foot
we
fence, I think, too.
Well,
So
10
10-foot fence, would that be part of that buffering part? I mean, so in that case, you might want to buffer some, but again, I don't.
Did you think we got done away with buffering?
I honestly
Well,
can't remember. but I can
This
check
was
it. I
the
mean, I-
motion. The motion was made by Commissioner Pate, seconded by Commissioner Hill, and carried 4-1, Donald Grove Rose, to change the language in the proposed landscape ordinance from mandatory to highly recommended.
Okay. That is true, but all the discussion in there, I think if you listen back, we didn't say nothing about the buffering.
And we can add it back. If buffering is that.
You're just talking about just the buffering requirements.
Yeah.
That's all that
I
that's
mean-
pertaining to.
Why should I be told I gotta put a shrub in front of my building? Now, I can see buffering.
You're talking about
between
a separation, so you segregate one parking lot from another or residential by versus.
Right.
Some might not want a buffer there. I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
Two businesses there, they don't want all that, but I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, that's again, something that you can take up as a variance. If you've got a new business coming in that requires a buffer between it and a residence, and that business doesn't want to put the buffer there, and the residence right next door doesn't care about having a buffer, then you just grant a variance.
Right.
But you at least have an opportunity to hear from both property owners.
Well,
You know,
that's
I-
fine, but I mean,
I
now,
disagree with Commissioner Peacock. In a sense, I think our landscape ordinance, and I deal with a bunch of them, is very lenient. It's not very restrictive in comparison to what they have to do down at the beaches, what they have to do in Santa Rosa, what they have to do in Pensacola, Leon County. It's not a very cumbersome or restrictive ordinance.
And most businesses, if I
Most
understand right,
businesses-
has their own landscaper, that franchise is part of their franchise agreement, or if they're.
And we have the capability, we've already done it a couple of times, of granting variances and exceptions to what's in there. I just think.
Which that poses a good question, Michelle. If we start giving a lot of variances, which I see some of them coming, does that not set a precedence within the variance?
No.
It doesn't. So I can give variance to 100 businesses and I can have the same kind of variance applicant come before the board and we say no, and they'll say, well, you gave 100 more. That's not a case?
As long as it wasn't for a discriminatory purpose.
Well, I'm not excluding. I'm just talking about you gave the same X variance to them.
All right.
From
And
a
then,
political standpoint, it does.
yeah,
It
well,
sets a precedence from a political.
right.
standpoint.
And I just wonder how that would not be a case that says, okay, why is the variance given to those for the same metrics as it would be for, and not give one? There wouldn't be no
Well, a variance is supposed to be based on,
search.
specific
circumstances.
circumstances. So it's a case by case analysis. If you are, if you want to set a precedent with something, then you change your rules. You don't set a precedent by.
I was actually going to use the sign ordinance as an example. So we started getting a lot of variance requests for signage, for size of signage over and over when I was there. I mean, I think some of y'all were involved in that. Every time we turned around, well, to me, that signaled there's something wrong with the code. We shouldn't have to be giving out variances left and right because they should be on an isolated basis for very specific reasons. So we worked with the planning commission, we brought forth recommendations, we changed the code. Y'all have not had a sign variance that was related to that issue in literally years because we fixed that. In this case, that would be the same thing. If you start getting variance requests over and over again, that would signal,
A trigger
okay,
that we need to adjust.
there's a problem.
So what's the doctor's office is freestanding there by the Oaks Restaurant? What?
Oh, yeah, that one.
Nunez?
Pain
Christian.
clinic.
Christian? Yeah, you remember he had,
Where's the buffering in our landscape ordinance? Because I have it in front of me. What section?
It's not in there because I do remember you all saying only address the landscaping and not the buffer.
No, I'm talking this. I've got the original one and I was looking for.
so what I'm hearing from Planning Commissioner Donafro
Oh,
is,
I know what you're talking
we don't have problems with the buffer.
I don't.
And I don't
It's
either.
needed. And
As
plus,
needed.
on your residence,
So we need to lean more toward just getting the variances if they need one. The requirement will be there, and then between the two mutual parties, resident, commercial, can ask for a variance or a waiver on it, correct? And that might be the easiest way, are you thinking that? I mean, I just don't want to get broad, but like Will Ann said, it's the fact that if it starts to become the problem, we can address it on a bigger scale. But I'm not addressing landscape, I'm just talking about just, and that would only, when we call it buffer, we're talking about buffers specifically between a commercial, but not all the way around the perimeter. So if I don't have somebody on my right-hand side, but I got someone that's coming on my left-hand side, the buffer would need to be looked at just on that one side where there's two adjoining properties of business or resident business. Is that right?
just like our certified sites, we have buffers on that because if I remember, were you on the board?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we wouldn't want to affect them, you know. I don't know if that was a good example, but we wouldn't want to do away with them. So
I think one thing that needs to take place pretty quickly is that the motion to make all of our landscape ordinance voluntary and not mandatory probably needs to change, because right now we don't have any requirements.
we do, because it hasn't been changed.
Yeah, so
They
I was
haven't-
just gonna
it hasn't
add
been
to,
changed.
well, y'all made that motion, but also, and we can listen to that recording, I remember the discussion that Michelle would do some research on how to accomplish that, which is what we're bringing back today, was, like, what we thought was the next step was, this is how you would accomplish that through a text amendment through the comp plan. So they're not actually changed because you can't just do that through a motion, it's a public hearing process.
And I quit reading, I'm sorry. Subject to legal opinion if the language can be changed to the comp plan requirements. So.
Just from memory.
I'm sorry.
Would it be worthwhile to have a workshop?
I don't know, but I'm getting hungry.
I'm getting hungry and we keep beating this dog and beating this dog. This dog's gonna die.
No, I'm not mad. I've had a quart of milk and Reese's cups. Stay here all day, but I'm on a high over here.
Michelle, I did not hear what you said.
I do think it would be helpful to have a workshop, focused on the specific landscape provisions that you find with a planning consultant. Here.
How
talk
much
about-
we gonna?
Who's going to pay
planning
him and how much is he going?
Y'all pay money. Y'all pay money.
Wrong
If we do that, we can adjust
answer.
your salary.
Well, yeah.
Ah, there you go.
I was going to
And,
address
and
Sweetie and Paul.
since Danielle's not here, no, we don't.
I was
Yeah, do this first.
actually going to recommend we utilize our partnership with ARPC, which would not charge us anything to help with that effort. Perfect.
Good idea.
Since
As
I
long
sit
as
on
they
that
don't come in
board,
here and
I
try to,
will tell them no.
That was just that.
as long as they don't come in here and tell us that we shouldn't do nothing.
Well, that may be their recommendation.
Well.
That doesn't mean you have to.
I can assure you that's
Well,
what's
we
going to
still
happen.
Here's what I
beating this
think the-
dog.
Well, here's what I think the benefit of that would be is if
You
you
want
walk
to.
through that through a workshop and identify, well, we have a problem with requiring 3 trees every X number of feet or whatever, we can work to make that more, I feel like you can accomplish both. You can still have a standard without, but making it something y'all feel like you can live with.
I know y'all didn't write it. You didn't write it. It was in place when you attended you. They plagiarized somebody's.
Oh,
So there's a,
Plan.
there's a
No,
template.
back-
Central
back in the day,
Florida.
You could buy, I mean, companies would make these for you. They were just forms. So the regulation is there doesn't necessarily mean that it was really designed.
It's up to
for
the
that
board
design.
as to whether or not y'all want to do a workshop.
Yeah, let's just do one. I think that'd be beneficial.
All
Y'all
right.
all right with that? Just a short one. Let's make it right after the board meeting, on the what did I say today? What, 27th?
That's
Just
at
like-
night.
Right
Oh, that's at
before.
night, right before, I'm sorry, I was.
May
The first one in May.
Maybe 45 minutes. Y'all want an hour, just say an hour ahead. Is that too much?
After the meeting?
No, before, I'm sorry, I forgot it was night.
I would-
First meeting in May.
Oh, the first meeting in May.
Yeah, May.
Now, we can come in an
Well, I-
hour early,
we
but
can go-
you're not, we don't need to do it an hour early. We need to have time because I can see we go nowhere fast.
Okay, well, that's fine with me. Just, so this, y'all want to do it in May, the first meeting in May, what day would that be on? Anybody got a date?
I think the 14th,
I'll bring my pillow to sit on.
it is May 15th, May 14th.
May.
All right, so is that a motion?
Yeah, I'll set it for 10:15, just for kicks and giggles in case we get through it. We'll immediately follow the board meeting on what date was that again, May 14th? Just to immediately following the board meeting. just like that.
I just have an arbitrary
14th.
request. It's arbitrary. Could we set our special meetings for 10, always 10, like 10 o'clock? Because it helps with advertising to standardize. We inadvertently advertise it different accidentally.
10 o'clock, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I thought we'd already said that. All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Hill. Is there a second? For the first meeting in May to set a special meeting for 10 a.m. to discuss landscaping
It's not
one
May the
more
14th.
time.
Oh, it's not?
No, that'll be on a Friday.
That's a Friday.
May 11th.
May
I thought
Sorry.
I was in the wrong
Yeah.
year.
I'm sorry.
All right, is there a second? Is there a
Somebody's got to
second to
stop it.
Commissioner Hill's motion?
Second.
All right, we have a second by Commissioner Donifro. To schedule a special meeting to beat this dog one more time. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
I think Michelle had
Now.
another request.
What was that request?
If I understood correctly, you wanted basically authorization to set a special,
Oh, no, that was it.
okay.
Y'all did it.
So
And I am not in favor of bringing in a consultant.
bring some business owners from around here. Bring some people
What
that,
about ARP?
yeah.
Appalachian Regional Planning Council?
I
I
have a
know
call
the
in-
answers I'm going to get before I ask.
I have a call into Northwest Florida Water Management. They are by Florida statute supposed to work with the Florida Friendly with IFAS to see what they offer, but I haven't heard back from them yet. But whatever they come back with, I can let you
As
know.
long as we're not spending 3 sackfuls of money to get someone in here, I'll listen to it. Okay.
Yeah, something else that y'all really need to consider, if you're looking at your landscape regulations, is that Hurricane Michael changed your landscape.
Yeah, we don't need no more trees
Right?
outside of a
So
building.
Don't pay,
We love trees.
It might be time to look at these regulations anyway, because they were written years and years and years ago, and you had a lot more trees, and you had different, the soil was changing, the, like,
And
So
everything,
that you say-
trees fall, storms.
Especially
Right.
pine trees.
Scotty, come back up, please. Sorry to keep you waiting, but we're all hungry.
Y'all need a snack?
Oh, I'm good. I hear my blood sugar about 8:15. I'm good. I'm happy to take my water over here.
I eat four.
All
Good
right.
afternoon. Afternoon.
About to be evening.
Now,
I would like to say it's good to see you, but it's been too long.
all right, we was talking about the brush cutter position on another OPS position for that, which, I mean, yeah, we could definitely use it and put somebody in that machine all the time. Because we're already down, we're down, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 people anyway. People's quit, left, got 2 that's out. 6, one of them came back, one of them probably gonna go back out.
So what would be the requirements for somebody manning a brush cutter? Is there-
Just have operator experience, and that can be trainable. You know, chances of finding somebody that's ran one before is normally not normal. So what we do is we train them.
Yeah, question real quick.
learn them.
Can I ask a question, Scotty? On the guys that we use for that, and Clay, this might be, and Michelle interject if there's anything I say, is there a way that we can still have that 6-month break or 6 months of employment, a break by legal law, and then let them come back and work for maybe 2 more months? I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing, it's 6 months and that's all they can work.
That's basically what.
Okay, that's fine. I just want to make
In a
sure, because I understand there was
calendar
great.
In a calendar year. So
Okay,
they can
calendar
come
year.
back the next year and work 6 months.
Okay, I got you. Okay, I just want to make sure, because they were good workers. I was like, you need to,
I
no, no, that's fine. I don't want to break that. That was my question. So, no more mark over here.
All right.
That's not my rule.
Are we adding another position?
Oh, I don't know. That's,
No, I mean,
yeah.
we was talking about, I mean, I would love to add another one for that right now, but at budget time, I mean, I'm definitely gonna present. You
We
know,
are-
trying to,
I think we all have problems with brush. And I had suggested maybe instead of hiring 8, hire 10. And you got the full complement here together, 2 of those would be in a brush cutter. You got the 8 mowers, and when the time runs out, you know, one of those guys would fall back and get in a mower, tractor for a mower.
But not, they still only can work 6 months,
months.
even if you switch them.
Which is fine.
Right.
You hire, instead of hiring 4, he hires 5 to work 6 months. He gets him another 5. That gives him 2 extra people during the peak time that we can be running brush cutters.
And the way it's described, or it has been described to us, and it's not so much, you can't really circumvent this by saying, okay, I'm gonna have a grass cutter for 6 months, get rid of this 6, I'm gonna have 6 more months, have a grass cutter. It's a position. If you've got that position and it lasts more than 6 months, then it's subject to state retirement. Does that make sense?
So we can have,
Yeah,
we
you're
can have 3
saying-
different
But you
people in
can't-
one position.
But you can't
Yeah.
say, I'm gonna circumvent this and say, all right, Clay, you're gonna be a
Brush cutter
grass
one-
cutter for 6 months
And a brush cutter.
for 6 months.
so
That's what I wanted.
Position's got to be created every
They must have
time
changed that.
on a temporary basis.
They must have changed that.
Pardon?
It's got to be created every 6 months,
How
on a
long
temporary-
do
every
it?
time we do it on a temporary
That'll be
basis.
hard to keep people when we know that we're gonna create it every
Yeah,
year.
but we may lose some, you know, I mean,
Say
but
it.
other option, I mean, that I
Right.
know is you have to pay that other,
Or retirement and possibly, insurance.
which,
So would that help with the brush situation?
oh yeah, the 2 more, I mean, definitely would help.
And they'd be able to stay busy for
Oh,
6 months
yes.
easily?
Oh,
Oh,
God.
yeah, they.
Clint's got a
Send them
road.
to my district.
I mean, it-
Ask the question.
I got some
Yeah,
because
questions.
like at a budget time, I'm gonna try to find the funding money to move all the brush cutters to a unit. That way they just can try to keep it in some kind of route where we don't
So-
run all over the place and chase, fires.
As long as you start in District 5, I don't care.
You already been there.
But we don't have the 2 extra budgeted currently.
No, And I just roughing it up, it'd be like $29,000 this year. And left in this budget to pay those guys on the $15 an hour. I'm sure there's some other costs in there that,
So where would those funds come from?
well, I'm sure that I've got it in salaries, you know, of people, positions that are empty and that are probably gonna be empty, because like I said, I'm not planning on kind of, if I get those two, I won't fill two of them that I've got open. And I'll just play it that way, you know.
Commissioner Hill, you have a question?
Quickly, Scott, I think you and I talked about this, but I want to reaffirm that Compass Lakes board, and there wasn't a full board present when I was there, was three of them. I don't know how many there are down there. I don't have a clue. But they did mention that we could spray down there and feel free to spray. So the reason I mention this now is that there's other individuals, I think Robert knows a few of them, but I know several roads that the owner is either one in a family member, and they said, spray. We don't care. Cut it back, spray it. We don't care. Kill it, whatever. So I didn't know if there was a way that we could uniformly at some point get that done, because overall, cut it back, and if it's sprayed, then maybe that would save over a course of time, less route has to be done in certain areas.
We're gonna look at budget time to see what it's gonna, trying to get some costs together on what it's gonna cost us to spray, because I mean, it ain't as simple as going to, you know, buy just a spraying rig and spray. And, you know, we start spraying here and that's all okay, but then you don't put the wrong person, you know, bad day or whatever, and spray something else. So
There's reasons why they don't spray.
right, you know,
You
and
don't know what the reasons. I don't know, but
Drift.
there's reasons.
Yeah, if
Why
you
you
drift
don't
over
see
and
it.
kill grandma's flowers, you're in trouble.
oh, I mean,
It's
you
gonna
get in
happen.
one of these farms, and the thing with it is they see you spraying.
And you're gonna have to have certified sprayers, or they're gonna have to.
It may not be
get licensed to
beneficial. It
the
may
Right,
not be.
and the thing with it is,
Better
one of the
look at
things, if we're gonna do it, probably one of the things, you almost gotta look at an outside source to do
In
it.
the whole county.
Cause I mean, it was
I'd love to have them spray mine.
$75,000 just to get set up, you know, and you ain't really even got started, you know, on equipment and stuff. And it's one of the things, you buy that stuff and then you don't use it, you never get that out of it.
Yeah.
A couple more things, Scotty, real quick. Well, then go ahead and finish your employee thing, then I'll get into the next one.
That's where I was on that,
So you're saying hire 10, stagger to 10, 2 will be specifically for brush cutting,
right.
and the other 8 would be for mowing.
No.
Okay, and you're using that salary from the ones that's not being filled vacancies.
Right, like I said, I've
and
got
the
it, I've
comparable
got
salaries.
open positions, I just won't fill them if we do that.
But you take that extra guy, when you get your 8 tractor, you know, mowing people going, you'll have 2 people that will be running brush cutters.
Along with them.
They'll be,
Well, they
Well,
can't keep,
they
they can't,
won't
they
never
can't keep
stay
up
with
with
them,
them.
but
no,
we'll, you know, we'll
Okay.
go down we'll get the major
but
roads.
one of
start
those
with.
guys is going to have to fall back and get on a tractor.
I can.
Well, you got 2 different,
You talking about to get the debris up?
No, he
Oh.
will,
Yeah,
at some point,
whenever
you will have 8 tractors sitting there with 4 people.
Right.
Well, pull that guy, that 5th guy off of the brush cutter, put him in a tractor,
That's correct.
finish out the mowing cycle for
Right.
the year.
Yes, sir.
What about, you're talking these, how many brush cutters do we have?
Got 4.
We got
4.
4.
5 counting the big one with the blade on it. So take one of the ones that we're using and add it to them and start working.
They stay tore up all the time. So what are we gonna do with them things?
Well, we've done a little study, and you put the right person in them, they don't stay tore up.
I know that. I mean,
So that's kind of where I'm going with this, is ultimately at budget time, I'm gonna get them all to this side of it. That way you don't put somebody there that jams it into a mess and causes an issue.
All right, do I hear a motion?
motion to just add 2, I want to make sure if I'm.
Well,
Two more positions, OPS, or we're doing the whole 10 now. You want to agree?
Well, I don't know if they ever done that, to make the motion earlier, I can't remember.
no, we did not make a
All right,
motion.
so
We
we need a
didn't
motion to
approve the
include 10
request.
OPS, 8 mowers, 2 for brush cutting. Is that what you're asking for?
That's-
And
yes,
the
sir.
money's coming out of the existing
Existing budget.
budget, which should be pretty good, because if they're not getting benefits and they're working 6 months, it's almost be 2 to
Right.
1, right? So I'll make that motion.
And they will be staggered. He'll hire, not this year because we're in trouble, but he'll bring them on in a staggered fashion.
Whatever meets the
Next year.
criteria.
Right.
Well, why are we doing that now?
So we can get some brush cut.
but it's not gonna happen till next year.
No.
No, I'm going to
No,
hire
he's-
these
he's
two
hiring
positions
them.
because they can be hired.
So you just need a motion to include two,
Yeah. And
because you already got your six, right?
Eight.
I've got the eight.
Got the eight, so you only
Right,
need a motion
but
for
do
two.
they need to
we
renew
did not
that?
approve hiring those eight.
I'm trying to read your face.
I don't think we
I
did.
thought we did.
We did too.
We
I
voted
may
on
have,
it.
I don't know.
I don't.
I just asked if you needed 10, if
We
you did.
talked about
Yeah,
it.
I don't know.
Don't think we-
I'm happy to have a look at it.
Yeah.
Carlin feels like it'll work.
So we got a
so-
motion for one second.
Well,
That's
Ann,
fine, that's fine. I just thought he said that we needed. to-
Well, Ann,
Yes, sir.
did we
She haven't heard
approve the eight?
Should be all right.
I don't know, so I
I
think.
thought we dropped it till this.
She's all right.
I do too. So I think just to make it, clean it up, make sure we're clear, we are approved to hire the 8 plus 2, if that's what you want to do. I just would like to caveat that I've not actually seen these numbers. Carlin, just to make sure budget wise that we can do 29,000. Unless y'all say no, find it, we'll find it, but
So you said 29,000 for.
That
For
would,
the
that
two
would cover the other
additional.
two positions
positions.
for this.
But how many
remaining
positions
6
you have
months.
vacant that's not being budgeted, that's being budgeted for? How many, 6?
6, 7
Okay.
out there. So,
So-
I mean, there's salary money there.
Okay.
What are you gonna do with the brush cutters you have now? The people?
Well, they're gonna, I mean, 3 of those people that's working, they're gonna keep working like they are. But there's
Mine,
one that I've got that nobody's in, and I'm gonna move it and run it. And
all
that's,
right, was there a second?
Second.
Second by
yours is gonna
Commissioner,
stay in your district right now.
Commissioner Hill made
Wait,
the
wait,
motion.
wait, my motion needed to, had to have one stay in my district then.
Well, yours is gonna stay in your district
Thank
too.
God, I'm about to.
You don't
But
have.
they're
one.
all coming to District
And
5.
yours is gonna stay in your
Thank you, sir.
district. And like this, we're gonna all go to 5,
We
District
don't,
5.
we
and
don't pimp,
start.
out- we don't pimp out Donna for a
Yeah.
Eugene.
Do we, you know, we had discussion about getting something else besides what we got.
We got the one with the blade on it, and it works good. It's just ain't got a person in it all the time. That's what we're doing right now, putting that person in it. And then at budget time, we're gonna come to look and see, because we're gonna have to replace some of the ones we got or either add something to it. But there's nothing fast about cutting any of this stuff, you know, I mean,
When you come to budget, bring some ideas as far as something other than the bush hog on the arm.
Right.
I don't like that. All right, any more questions?
No, I'm okay.
All right, hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0. Go get 10 and get them busy.
Have we ever checked about getting a pass through the county doing this? Is there a subcontractor do? I know that
I
REA, you
talked- I
charge about
talked to
800
two,
miles or
and
something, 900 miles.
talked to 2 and we're talking about $1 million.
But that'd get the whole county, like, of course, we can't afford it, I got that.
Right.
I just,
That would get,
I mean, seriously, for what we're spending with the tractors and equipment and.
Right.
We tag team with West Florida Electric. When they're
I just-
cutting
that's just
everything,
a call.
they cut
I mean,
everything.
years ago, my brother worked for West.
Don't
Florida,
run
I think
off,
it was paying
Scott.
about 900 a mile for power line.
All right. Did you have anything for roundtable?
Yeah, you too? Is this the only thing we're dealing with?
That was all we're dealing with,
All right,
right?
I got
Elaine?
it.
Well, I
Scott,
have a
just-
couple more things.
Okay, go ahead. I'll- fine.
I'm hungry, hurry.
Y'all want me to go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, 2 things. One, we have recently had a meeting with Nokia. You still want me to talk about this?
Yes.
So as y'all know, we've been having ongoing discussions about broadband, for literally years. And so we're sort of to a point where it is maybe something we should consider is to actually put out an RFP for engineer design to get our middle mile ring, like full engineer plans done. And so the estimated cost for that is over $1.5 million to get that done. But we have set aside approximately $2 million of CARES funding that is as an acceptable use to be used for broadband. And so before we just went out and did that and put that out and then had this huge price tag to ask y'all to consider, I would prefer to have some discussion and the blessing from the board to put out an RFP to that effect. And at least a good feel that it would be okay with y'all to use that money for that effort if we did it.
Well, the big thing about going ahead and getting engineered plans and everything is that then when we get ready to start applying for grants and that type stuff, and people bidding on it, we'll know what we're dealing with. now it's kind of a shot in the dark
Well,
type thing.
And
we
we
do-
also are waiting on a grant right now, so if we are successful at getting that funding, we would be that much further down the road and actually being shovel ready,
How much of the CARES Act money do we have left?
about 2.1.
There's some other stuff we gotta get. Good.
Okay,
Yeah, so why? We're gonna spend $2 million to design it,
1.5 is.
It's approximately 1.5.
but we don't know if we'll ever get the money to build it.
No, I mean, we don't know that for sure, but we don't know that for anything. I just think that it puts us that much further down the road.
If
it,
we
it,
get the money to build
it
it.
increases your probability of getting the money.
Is there
You got the
a way of
USDA is more inclined to award the grant.
Is there a way of
In fact,
approaching?
you gotta have it with USDA before they will even grant you.
Is there a way of approaching the planning in a phased fashion so that we don't necessarily spend the 1.5 to get construction plans, but we do preliminary planning?
I'm sure there is.
I mean, that's.
Just
the
show
way-
our best
Do we have to spend the
It's
CARES
I don't know
money
the
now?
answer to that.
When do we have to
No, we do
decide
not.
on that?
You don't have to decide right this minute.
Well,
Put out an RFQ.
Well, let's put out an RFP or whatever you, and let's see what we get would be my
You need a
recommendation.
motion, just consensus.
Are there design firms that specialize in broadband design?
So Nokia is one that actually can't, I mean, I'm sure there are others where you put it out, but they are one that would definitely, they do that. They engineer, design, things like this. So I mean, we're definitely willing to do the work to put it out, whether y'all ultimately funded it or not. But I at least wanted to know we had this conversation, or, whatever, for whatever reason said, no, we don't want to pursue that.
I understand having it. I just, I'd hate to spend $1.5 million and we can't get the
Well,
money
we've
to
been-
build it.
We don't even know that it's 1.5 at this point in time.
Let's-
Until
Could be
you
more.
That's
kinda
an
go through that
estimate.
process, you really won't.
We just
know.
Let's put it out, my recommendation, but let's put it out, let's see what comes back.
That's a good approach.
Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make that motion with.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Hill,
Second.
second by Commissioner Donifro. Yes, sir.
I'd just like to make sure that we see when we do have that RFP, to see if they would do it as a whole project and then in stages. Because I mean, they may say, okay, there's 3, 4, I don't know what numeric number it would be, but just say this incrementally could be done on a more financial approach if we can't spend the 1.5 one time or don't need to, or as a whole. So maybe do the RFP for that. Just to look, I mean, that's a lot of money.
All right.
How do we advertise that typically? I mean, to make sure we get good response.
So in this case, I mean, we have our standard local way, but we would probably strategize some ways to get it pushed out more nationally.
Okay.
We all done with that vote?
No, we have not had the vote yet. Any more questions? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
I just wanted
Yes,
to
ma'am.
say we do have one grant, the 1.8 that y'all remember matching funds from DEO that's already awarded to us. We just need the grant to match it with. And then we have another grant at DEO right now that could be the match. And so what they have said to me is no commitment, but they want to see us make that work. But they need to know that we have the remaining funding set up to finish that out. And so we're also sort of working through ideas to bring to y'all on, okay, if we could get these 2 grants, how could we finish out? So we may be further along than we even think we are if we got that in place and set up, if we had the engineer design. All right, the last thing I have is
Well, and what was the amount of that second grant?
5 point, what is the CDBG CV, 5 million or 5 million?
Okay.
Okay. So I need the board to consider ratifying a addendum to our medical director at the jail, Dr. Hercule. He has covered us for 30 days for medical director at Fire Rescue. If y'all would consider ratifying that.
So
Make a motion.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Donifro, second by Commissioner Hill. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
And then
Motion
also,
carries 5-0.
sorry, thank you. If you all would consider ratifying an agreement between the board and Dr. Colby Scott Redfield for a 1-year period to serve as medical director for Fire Rescue.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Donifro, second by Commissioner Pate. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 5-0.
That's all I have.
That's all.
Real quick, Scott, I might have told you, the potholes and complex, did they get the truck down there to those roads I see in?
Where?
In Compass Way? They had, do you drive, there was a hole, I mean, there was a.
They got the.
I seen it about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yes. I saw those.
Oh, that's
Checking.
fine. Yeah, they
I
called.
saw the paperwork. So.
Yeah, if y'all, and the ditch in Cypress that flooded across from the thing, we was gonna move that excavator from up there, down there, and it hadn't been there, and that's been almost 6.5 weeks. Next week, that one did, and that's, I think. And when are we gonna have a list of the equipment that we chose? I think it was last October, we approved that 45,000 for the GPS for not just road bridge, our rescue and all the other, where's that
They
list?
came in
Yeah,
yesterday.
for y'all, but I'll
Oh.
put them in for other things, I mean.
So the last time I asked Joey about it, he just said they were still implementing phase 1 and that they're,
Yeah, but what is
Carlin,
phase one? I mean, what is phase one?
what y'all approved. It was the road and bridge. Remember at that time, we said that was like phase 1 and then he was gonna work on phase 2.
Okay.
But Carlin, I don't know if you have an update on it.
We literally got the unit yesterday.
Commissioner
That's good for y'all.
McKinney.
Yeah, I was-
Mr. Taylor, where are we on AME Road? Problems you having on AME Road up there?
Pipe down there.
Yeah, that pipe.
Y'all, anything with that on, right now, it's a big issue. We're just trying to come up with some costs on it, but, they called again, or,
I have got several other calls on it.
I'll
Also,
get
for
back
its-
on it.
Okay, and what for is, temporary, some kind of signage at the, let them know it's a dip this area.
See if we can't get some warning, something like to warn them, and then I'll get back on that.
I appreciate it.
Is that it? All right, I have one thing. Welcome Church out on Messer Road. Got a call from a couple of the deacons. They're concerned about speeders going through there. Is there any way we can reduce the speed from like 35, put in a speed zone, go down from 45 to like 25, post it accordingly, and then if at the appropriate time after we get it posted, maybe if they don't slow down, we'll get the sheriff's department to take action. I think the
Right,
board
and
has
because I
to.
just did one on Greenwood Road, and I'm gonna reduce it to 25. I gotta get him to put up signs tomorrow on Greenwood. We're gonna reduce it to 25, slow them down through there, so. Just, main thing, we just have to look at it and make sure there ain't no reason,
Well, they come through, I know,
Oh, I
having
know
been
what
out there
you're talking about.
campaigning, they're running 60 and 70.
Well, speed limit signs is not a recommendation.
Yeah, but they do that on all
I
our
don't see
roads.
that with
Does it need
buckshot.
it?
They'll turn that
Well,
8 into a 2 into
What I'm
8.
saying is,
Y'all,
we look at it, because
Trust
it's,
You
you gotta, when somebody calls, you gotta look at it, because if something happens. But, children at play sign gets more attention than,
Put church or speed zone ahead and reduce it.
Yeah, do the children's sign, that's better.
Yeah, but we
But
don't
they
do
actually,
children's
that's the
signs.
primary reason they want to do it is because they do have
Well,
children
you probably would be a
that
better
play
result
out
for
there
that.
and get it.
But
near
we
the
don't do
road.
children's signs. Children at play, the county don't put them out.
Yeah, you used to buy them. We,
right,
to
you gotta
buy.
buy 'em.
they have to
Y'all
buy
putting
them.
them
then we
out,
put
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
But, do I need a
We got
motion
some-
from
we-
the
we've
board to
had-
do
we had
that?
some that came back. in.
Change the speed limit?
So are you sure it needs to be changed?
I am
But now we
positive.
gotta look at it.
Yeah,
They'll shoot with buckshot, I'm telling you that.
I don't care. I need a motion from somebody
I'll
to
make a
change it.
motion.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hill. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner McKinney. Any questions? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Drop the gavel. I'm hungry.
Put your finger up there.
I'm leaving.
no, I
Let's
just,
go home.
no, you don't.
We're adjourned.
Thank you, Eric.
I